stretch my legs, eat some breakfast, milk and eggs, brush my teeth up, wash my face, start my day. Wake up, get up, stretch my legs, eat some breakfast, milk and eggs, brush my teeth up, wash my face, throw my clothes on, start my day. Wake up, I can smell the smoke from the bacon. Let's go, see the sun shining from the windows. Okay, I know that today'll be a good day. Okay, I know that today'll be a good day. A, B, C, 1, 2, 3. Drink some water, brush my teeth, get out of bed and I stretch. Bed in my hair is a mess. Look through my clothes for a fit. Anything I do is drip. Feel like a kid when I'm tick-tocking, I still keep it real as it is. I show my age, I don't switch often, I'm just as a dad as it gets. Try taking naps with my kids, talking, I'm guessing this life how it is. And I can't wait for the weekend, keep jammies on like I'm a kid. Wake up, get up, stretch my legs, eat some breakfast, milk and eggs, brush my teeth up, wash my face, throw my clothes on, start my day. Wake up, I can smell the smoke from the bacon. Let's go, see the sun shining from the windows. Okay, I know that today'll be a good day. Okay, I know that today'll be a good day. Feel good, feel great, can't complain. Look out my window, see birds and planes. Sun's out, some clouds, it might rain. Siblings on my nerves again. Summertime, go for a swim. Wintertime, go grab a sled. Spring, I might need an umbrella. Fall back in school with my friends. Attitude change like the weather. My mom tell me it never ends. Like clocks, we evolve in a circle. Every 12 months we do it again.
Good morning.
Wake up, get up, stretch my legs, eat some breakfast, milk and eggs, brush my teeth up, wash my face, throw my clothes on, start my day. Wake up, get up, stretch my legs, eat some breakfast, milk and eggs, brush my teeth up, wash my face, throw my clothes on, start my day.
Hey, welcome in everybody. Welcome. Good morning, everybody. Good morning. I'm your host, Tonya TKO from the Tonya TKO Show. On this channel, we deconstruct the patriarchal programming that has been attacking your own inner sense of self-love. And this morning, I was looking at a historian who was talking about how we got to where it is that we are right now. They gave a brief overview, and it was just a 15-minute video, but what I heard in this 15 minutes just it just did something to me. And some of you have been seeing my videos on the Clips channel. I'm cutting up some of my other videos. And one of the things that I realized watching my videos yesterday is that I'm so angry, right? Like, I'm just angry. And I realized that I'm going through the 5 stages of grief/loss. And it is a difficult process to see America falling. But the writing is on the wall that I don't want to say this because I want to have hope, but historically the writing is on the wall that this country it won't get better. Not as the country is. Like, this country needs to do a really deep cleaning. My fan is on. Give me 1 second. this country needs to do a deep, deep rewrite. The people of the country need to be rewritten. Let me just tell you what it is that I heard in this video. So, in the 1930s, things had been really terrible after the Great Depression, the World Wars, etc. Right? The World War One, right? And Franklin Delano Roosevelt, and please don't quote me exactly. Everything that I say here, please look up because I am not a historian. I'm reiterating something that I heard, right? So Franklin Delano Roosevelt created this thing called the New Deal. In the New Deal, they wrote into law Social Security. So before this time, there was no Social Security. Employers were abusing employees. I heard one story about a company that drove their employees by bus out to the middle of the desert and didn't give them any water and left them there, and they had to find their way back. They had to walk through the desert with no water. And the employer did that as a kind of, look, don't complain, do as we say, and you won't get hurt, right? So I don't know what happened to the people in the desert, how many made it back alive, how many of them had impending health issues and couldn't make it back, or how many of them developed health issues as a result. I don't know, but the thing that this story kind of struck to me was how if they could abuse us even more, they would, right? So nonetheless, so he wrote into law regulations on companies as well as Social Security. So Social Security wasn't always a thing. And what they did was the corporations were very upset by this. They were like, why should we be regulated? People were upset by this because of the spin that was created from the corporations. And they were like, look, these black people, these indigenous, these people of color, and these women, they didn't work for this money, but they want these handouts. Same type of talk like now, right? Except women have, they're coming back around to the front of the conversation, but I feel like women have been out of the conversation for some time, right? So nonetheless, they created this propaganda machine trying to undo these regulations on these companies and these corporations, right? And you know what? I feel like I'm not doing a good job in explaining this because I can play the video that I watched in this video. Please let me know if you think I'm doing a good, if you think I'm doing a good job, put up a 1. If you think that the job I'm doing could be better, put up a 2, right? And I'll know from your feedback whether or not I'll just go and just play the video. If you think that I should just play the video and let the historian herself tell you, just put up a 3, okay? Because I'm trying from what it is that I remember of the video. So nonetheless, so the story goes on from Franklin Delano Roosevelt to Ronald Reagan, right? So they had been trying to undo these changes, and they finally, under Ronald Reagan, had a person in office who whispered the dog whistles, right? Whispered the dog whistles. Okay, thank you. I'm trying. Okay. So he whispered the dog whistles of the people who had been silently complaining. So one person wants me to play the video. Okay, so we have 1 vote for that, right? Okay, we have 2 votes for it. Okay, listen, let the votes come in. Let the votes come in because I just finished watching it. I can play it. Don't look. I 3 votes. Okay, listen. I'm gonna play the video. Okay, 4 votes. I'm gonna play the video. I'm gonna play the video. I'm gonna play the video. I'll play the video. All right. Good morning. So this is a video by a woman by the name of Heather Cox Richardson. What I'll do is I will
Listen, between YouTube and Facebook.
all right. So we'll play it a little bit fast so that we'll be able to get through it and still have time to talk about it afterwards, right? Because when I heard this video, I was like, oh, wow. So, yeah, racism, sexism, that's how we got here. Don't worry, I'll play it for you. Don't worry, I got you here. You know, the thing is, hey, Paddington, good morning. Good morning.
People are clearly agitated and they're all over the map because so much is going on that just comes across as
Let me just lower the speed a little bit. Let's put the speed at 1.5, okay? All right. So this is the woman. I'll show you her page. This is her page right here. You see, it says, Understanding the Moment We're In, Explainer Heather Cox Richardson, right? And if the video is going too fast for you, I have it at 1.5 speed. When you do the playback, you can turn your speed down so that it'll play so that it won't be so fast on your end. You know what I mean? Because I know that it can be jarring to hear, you know, it's sped through, but, you know, so much information out here nowadays that we have to, you know what I'm saying? It's just, all right, let's go.
listen, between YouTube and Facebook, people are clearly agitated and they're all over the map because so much is going on that just comes across as bonkers. It is bonkers and it's going to get worse. So before I get into the specific questions you asked today, I want to step back and give you a framework for thinking about the moment we're in. All right, and I'm going to take you way back. I'm going to take you all the way back to 1935, because in 1935, something dramatic happened to the United States government, and that was under President Franklin Delano Roosevelt, a Democrat, during the Great Depression, Congress passed and the president signed into law the Social Security Act. And what that did is it changed the relationship between individuals and the government. That is, the government took on a responsibility for making sure that the elderly and children and differently abled people and so on had some support. And what that did is it really reoriented the government in a pretty dramatic way. That is, you know, the elderly suddenly didn't necessarily have to worry about being on the street, or, you know, this actually came from somebody watching two elderly ladies eating out of a trash can. And, you know, if they still lived with their children, they would bring a paycheck, you know, or a social security check into their families. So it reoriented the country in a fairly dramatic way. But some other things also happened under the New Deal. One of those was the idea that the government would try to treat everybody in America, all the men in America, similarly, and there were also gains for women as well. Now, that didn't actually happen. Certainly Black Americans and Brown Americans and
Question for you all, how is this speed? Is it too fast? Should I lower it down a little bit? Let me know. Just type lower or okay so that I'll know whether or not I need to slower it down or keep it at this speed, because I'm able to follow, but I do feel like it's a little fast, but I also want to get through it. So let me know.
certainly indigenous Americans were not treated the same as white men. But there was this devotion to that idea that it would want that America's laws would once again, or would once be colorblind the way they had been designed to be after the Civil War. So you got that, but you also got the federal government beginning to invest in infrastructure, for example, in the Tennessee Valley Authority, in making sure that people had electricity, in making sure that people had access to decent roads. Now, that's going to take off after World War II. But what I'm trying to lay out here is the idea that government starts to be involved in the American society in a different way than it had been before. And it also, quite crucially, begins to regulate business. It begins to step in and say to business people, hey, you know, you can't do anything you want. You can't do things like, for example, put your workers on a bus and drive them into the middle of the desert and push them off and make them make their way back to a town without any water to prove to them that they better do as you say. That actually happened in Arizona. So So that mattered a lot. But what it also did is it was enormously popular. People really liked this government. It stabilized the country. It stabilized the economy, gave people a sense that they could work their way up. And the country, especially after World War II, when the United States is one of the few countries that hasn't been completely destroyed by that war, so the economy booms, it really convinces people that this is the kind of government we need. And it's called the liberal consensus. Liberal meaning the idea that in order for individuals to be able to have the opportunity to create their own futures, you need to have a government that makes sure they're not going to get squished by big business or by starvation, that they get educations, that they have access to healthcare, that there is a way to protect the individual, the libre, the individual person in a society. So there is this sense that this is the way America is going to be, and Americans since then, of all political parties, for an overwhelming majority of them, have liked that system. Now they don't agree about what the laws should all look like or how much infrastructure there should be and so on. But they did agree that they liked that kind of a government. And many of them thought it wouldn't go anywhere, that this was here to stay. So when people, when Democrats used to say, well, the Republicans are trying to take away Social Security, there was a lot of people saying, oh, that's just ridiculous. You're fear mongering. They'll never do that, right? Okay, so what happens is that beginning in the 1930s, but really taking off in the 1950s, you have a group largely made up of wealthy businessmen, because entrepreneurs like that system. They like that level playing field. But more established businessmen don't like it, because they don't like the idea either of business regulation. That's what they really don't like. And they don't like the idea of the taxation that is required to do things like pay for roads and schools and hospitals. So they begin to argue that this system is a form of socialism. Remember, you've got the real fear after World War II of communism spreading across Asia and across from the USSR, from the Soviet Union. But they argue partly that it's socialism. They also make a big stand against the idea that it is being caused, this large government that provides these benefits for all Americans, is coddling Black people, brown people, and women. And that really takes off after it takes off a little bit before that. It takes off as early as 1948 under President Truman, because he begins to desegregate the military, for example, and he puts together this committee of people to talk about how civil rights really matter in America. But it really takes off after 1954 with the Brown versus Board of Education decision, in which those people who object to business regulation and object to the idea of the taxes that do things like underpin a social safety net and infrastructure, they don't want to pay those taxes. And they start to argue then that the whole point of there being this government that does all these things, is to funnel the tax dollars of hardworking Americans, defined usually as white men in the literature of the time, to undeserving people of color, Black Americans. Women are going to come in the late 1960s, 1970s. That idea that the government that is serving everybody is a reflection of the demands of undeserving, sort of un-American-ish people of color, and as I say later, women, really takes off after 1965 with the Voting Rights Act of 1965, which guarantees that people of color can vote. And that law is going to get expanded later on with the demand that we provide ballots in a number of different languages, for example. Then in the 1960s and then into the 1970s, under Richard Nixon, those people who are objecting to that government for different reasons, and mind you, this is a drive-by of American history. I mean, I should stop and give you 10 hours on basically each sentence here. But there's the argument beginning in 1971, 72, before Roe versus Wade, that women who want to work outside the home, known as women's libbers by those people who don't like them, are trying to destroy the American family and trying to insist on benefits from the federal government to give them benefits that they don't deserve, and that they want to use benefits for things like abortion. And this is where abortion starts to become a really big rallying cry for that reactionary right-wing movement, because it begins to pull into that Republican coalition that stands against business regulation.
So I wanted to just pause this real quick right here to just talk about abortion real quick, because you know that women are the original doctors, because we are the original midwives, because we are the ones who originally delivered babies and the ones who were mixing up medicines, etc. So we're the original apothecaries. With that came birth control. So women have always created ways for us to have birth control, and women of prior times have known the ways to terminate pregnancies. And it was never a problem until certain points in history where people wanted to force women to have children for different reasons. From what I remember from my feminism class, in feudal Europe, they started to attack abortion rights because they needed people to work to work on the land that was seized from the people. So let me just say this from what it is that I've learned. We are naturally nature people. We are people who form in small communities, and we work the land and live in small villages together, right? In pre-feudal times Europe, people lived on their land, they worked the land, their families were able to eat, etc. And what happened is the feudal lords came in and seized the lands. They put fences up around the communal land, and they decided that now they were going to own the land and that the people could work on the land and be able to pay their keep, right? This is how women got pushed into the homes. So, because women used to work right alongside the men out there in the fields, etc. And once they started charging people, so now they're into this system where now people have to pay rent on land and they don't have money. So in order to get money to pay these rents, to pay these taxes, these fees, etc., they had to now become workers. And once they became workers, where they had to work and pay, there was somebody that had to be inside of the home to work in the home. And then there was a differentiation between what was considered work that you would get paid for and what was considered non-work that you wouldn't get paid for. And this is when the hierarchy between men and women began to really have its fissures or begin to form, right? And so, listen, and so women got pushed into the home. Then the men started being like, well, I'm paying all of this stuff over here. What are you doing? Now I'm having to pay for you to live as well, right? And then so, because women were also working outside the home, they were doing all of these things, and men started getting upset at seeing women in the public sphere. They decided they weren't going to buy from them. They were going to harass them and make it difficult, so that it became even unsafe for women to work outside the home. And then they were pushed into the homes to work from there. And then what ended up happening is the early signs of capitalism began to form, where the reproductive labor of women was needed. What do I mean by reproductive labor? And you can read this in Sylvia Federici's work, right? It was required. Women needed to be able to produce workers that could then feed into this system. And so they had to outlaw abortion care, because each one of those fetuses aborted is a potential worker that could feed into the system. I was talking to someone in the comments yesterday because we were talking about these billionaires who are transferring wealth all the way up to them. I'm like, what is their end game? Like, at the end of the day, what is it that they really want? Because okay, so you have all of this money that you can't spend in a whole lifetime. The vast majority of people don't have any money. Is it that they want people to die and they want people to not be here on this earth? They want us to have nothing. If there were no masses of people, what would these people do with their wealth? I think part of it is the domination and the humiliation of other people. I believe that these people have mental health issues that drives them to want to see other people suffer. Because think about it, if they had these billions of dollars and there were no people around suffering, would they truly be able to enjoy those billions? I think part of the kink for them is seeing people suffering, is seeing people down and out in comparison to them. And I think that there are two different societies that are being run right now simultaneously. I think that there's us down here on the bottom, and I think that they are up here on the top competing with one another, so that these are their cronies, and they're trying to see how much can each one of them get against the smaller players down here in which category we're at, all fighting for crumbs. Because she's going to talk about the trillions of dollars that have been funneled up, all because these people did not want to funnel the money down to people who really needed it so that we could have equality. They wanted to funnel the money up, listening to these rich, wealthy people who are using bigotry as the modus for these people to to give over their money to them. Because I'm like, how much more do they need? Why do they need all of this money while other people don't have any? I think that it's part of the kink to see people suffering because they have, some of these people I think have psychopathic tendencies. Something else is going on because this just isn't normal. I want to ask you all a question, and I want you all to think about this, right? If there were no people, like let's say 8 billion people were just wiped off the face of the earth, and it was just all of the rich people here amongst one another, do you think that they would enjoy the game? Or do you think that maybe they will still enjoy the game, but they'd enjoy playing with one another to see who could be the Lord of the Flies, who will be standing on the heap pile of shit higher than the others? And I'm like, to what end? Because, like, okay, so now you have all the money. Now what? And so that they can have some ego kick to be like, yeah, I did it, as they're dying from the fumes on the pile of shit, the noxious gases and methane that they themselves can't breathe, but at least now they are dying with their fists gripped on money. Like, it just, to me, it doesn't make any sense. I want to know what your thoughts are on that. You could type it while she's talking.
Religious traditionalists who really begin to talk about abortion not as having anything to do with
I'll rewind it just a little bit so that we can remember what it is that she said last.
stands against business regulation. Religious traditionalists who really begin to talk about abortion not as having anything to do with fetuses, but rather with freeing women from traditional marriages and from traditional hierarchies. And that's going to be really key, because going into the 1970s, then you're going to see a re-emphasis or an emphasis on.
So 2000 Watts is saying if there were no people, there would be no wealth. If you really think about it, the people don't really matter. Because at this point, they're not really getting money from people now anymore anyway. Their money is making money. But do they still need to transfer more money from the people? And then to what end? Why? I want to know. Okay. So, like, let's say every single person gave all of their money to them. Then what? Then the people have no money and they have it all. Now what? Is it maybe like the game of Monopoly, where there's one person who gets a kick out of owning all the houses on the board while other people are going straight to jail, can't pay their bills, and are just dropping out the game? And then they're like, yay. You know, I never liked the game of Monopoly. Like, when I was growing up, I never liked it. And then quite recently, I learned that the game of Monopoly was actually created as a cautionary tale, and then a damn capitalist took the board game and turned it into a good thing. But it was actually created as a criticism of corporations. I'll run it back one more time. Because I'm not getting it. I don't understand what it is that they want. Like, at the end of the day, what is it that you want? They want people to work for them? They don't even need people to work for them anymore. Is it that they just want to rape and plunder the land? That they want to see but you know, there are people out there who are rapists, and rape is about power. Do they just want to see the earth tilted on its axis, laying on its back, decimated, so that they could be like, yeah, I conquered? Okay, to what end? We all have to live on this earth. I was watching this show last night, this movie called The Life of Chuck, and it starts out, and in the beginning of it, I just cried because it was like the world was in devastation. Like, we were having all of these climate crises, animals were becoming extinct, and all of this stuff, and I'm like, I just don't see what the end game is for these people. It's like, I don't understand. And it's like we have people with mental health issues who are running this country and the world.
not as having anything to do with fetuses, but rather with freeing women from traditional marriage that they don't deserve and that they want to use benefits for things like abortion. And this is where abortion starts to become a really big rallying cry for that reactionary right-wing movement, because it begins to pull into that Republican coalition that stands against business regulation religious traditionalists who really begin to talk about abortion not as having anything to do with fetuses, but rather with freeing women from traditional marriages and from traditional hierarchies. And that's going to be really key, because going into the 1970s, then you're going to see a re-emphasis or an emphasis on traditional hierarchies of race and hierarchies of gender getting linked together to this idea of getting rid of that government that regulates business, provides a basic social safety net, promotes infrastructure, and protects civil rights, and also works in the international level to create all these alliances. I won't talk more about that today. You see all of those things coming together in this idea of reinstating a hierarchical system that got overturned all the way back there in 1965 with the Voting Rights Act, but even before that in 1935 with the Social Security Act. Okay, you didn't come here for a history lecture, but that's a really important baseline to have, because what you see in the 1980s is the rise of that radical right in their takeover of the White House and Congress under Ronald Reagan. And Ronald Reagan is the first president really to embrace this theory. And mind you, he does it more rhetorically than he does in real life. He actually governs very differently. This is why everybody can find a Ronald Reagan they like. He talks one way, he governs in a very different way. But he embraces these ideas. And this idea that the way that you create a good America again is to go back to the time before we had this new kind of government, back before 1935, is really part of his argument for, and again, I'm broad brushing this here, but part of the argument for the idea of getting rid of business regulation and getting rid of taxes. Remember all that emphasis on getting rid of taxes, because what Reagan and his people argue, and mind you, at the time, not a lot of people believe this, and that's, again, another rabbit hole I won't go into. You might remember George Bush the first talking about voodoo economics. What they argued was that if you got rid of business regulation and you got rid of taxes, what that would do is it would free up investment capital for investors, for those big businessmen, to pour back into the economy. And when it did that, they argued, what would happen was that everybody's lives would get better because the economy would grow so dramatically. And when that happened, you wouldn't need things like a social safety net, and private industry would invest in infrastructure. And you certainly wouldn't need business regulation, because those people who had all this money would be investing it in businesses that work terrifically well. What they were essentially arguing was that the United States should go back to a fantasy version of the 1920s, which on paper for a while looked really good. But then, of course, it turned out that the benefits of the economic growth of the 1920s were not going widely throughout society. They were only going to a very small group of people. And as a result, you're going to see in October of 1929, the Great Crash. All right.
Right. So that's the thing. It's like we had that great crash for a reason. But they want to go back to this time where they were in the golden age. You all are talking in the comments about how they need the workers to be able to make the money. Do they really? I mean, because they're creating AI and they're creating robots now. Do they really need the workers? And how much more money do they need? Do they really need more money?
So this was the idea. And what you have seen, though, is that from the very beginning in the 1980s, American voters didn't like this. They didn't like the deregulation. They didn't like the union busting. They didn't like the cuts to the social safety net and to education. And so in order to stay in power, that reactionary group of the Republican Party, because this is going to be very important, that this is not the original Republican Party or the Republican Party of the 20th century. This is a faction that's going to take it over, especially in the 1990s. What they began to do was to focus on the idea of concentrating power in the executive branch. And you see this under Ronald Reagan when his Attorney General, Edwin Meese, says, we're going to stack the courts so that no matter what voters do, we are going to be able to stay in power. And you see it in 1986 with the idea of ballot integrity. They're going to start to, the Republicans are going to start to argue that the only way Democrats win office is by cheating. And so they say we've got to get rid of some of this Democratic voting. And you can see them trying to concentrate power with this very small group of people in the executive branch with a very strong president. And part of that, and part of staying in power to do that at a time when people really don't like what they're doing, is constantly to hammer on the idea that Black Americans and brown Americans and women who want to work outside the home, and later on they're going to argue LGBTQ plus people, that those are individuals who are demanding tax dollars without deserving them. And that's a really important construction, because you can see the constant dog whistles in the 1980s, but then by the 1990s, you're quite visibly going to get that coming much more to the surface in politics through things like the Willie Horton ad under George Bush in the election where he uses that hideously racist and misleading ad to try and turn white voters away from the Democrats by arguing falsely that it was Michael Dukakis, the Democratic nominee that year, who had let this murderer and rapist out. That wasn't actually at all what happened. But you see increasing.
Oh my goodness. All right. So there's 180 people here, and my admin is saying there's only 60 likes. If you could please go and like the video so that the algorithm will know that the video is okay. On my other channel, I put up a video with the title Black Lives Matter in it, and the video got community restricted. In the video, I was talking about how they turned Black Lives Matter into a hate group, et cetera, et cetera. And I guess it's so true even to this day that when I put the word Black Lives Matter in a title, the video gets community guidelined. And I'm like, what? I didn't say nothing in this video that's out of the ordinary. So if you could please like this video, take the time right now to like the video. 62. All right, it's time for us to get up and stretch anyway, so you could close out of the chat and take a few moments to like the video so that we could get the video, so that we could get the likes up to at least 100. At least 100. The likes should be up at 150, because if there's 172 people in here now, that means that, because people are clicking in, clicking out, etc. So get the likes up. Let's go ahead and get some music up so we can just get up, just get the blood circulating, move just a little bit. I'm not asking you to go jump all around and everything, but, you know, let us at least just move, all right?
It's a new day for a high. It's another day to try to get by. And ooh, yeah, I'm feeling now every second, every hour of the day. Yeah. It's a new day for a high. Yeah. It's a new day for good times. I just turn the page, let it write what it likes. And ooh, yeah, I feel it now. Every atom in my body feels okay. Yeah. It's a new day for good times. Flying like I'm weightless, yeah, I'm losing all my senses, and it's making it impossible to die. Everything's in motion, yeah, I'm lost in the commotion, and I've never ever felt so freaking high.
All right. That felt good. It was a little something.
There's a new day that will come again tomorrow. There's a new day to wash away the pain.
Oh.
There's a new day to take away your sorrow. And the old ways get washed out by the rain. Darling, you've got to keep
All right, that was really good. I feel really good. If you stretch, you feel really good too, because there's something about stretching that just moves the fascia around and just gets things moving underneath. So if you stretch, let me see a 3. Let me see you throw up a 3. No, we already used the number 3 earlier, so let's do 4. If you stretch, do a 4. Oh, mm, mm. All right. All right, let's get back to the video. And then I'll wait to see those 4s come in because I hope you did get up. Even though it's early, it's still, you can still get up. Okay? Whew. Oh, wonderful. All right, we have 1-4 coming in from Miss Jonesy on Twitch. All right. ASAP, I don't see your vote. Okay, there's your vote. Okay, there's your vote. There's your vote. Okay. All right, all right. Okay, L, wonderful. I'm so glad. I'm so glad. I'm so glad. So glad. All right, wonderful.
This focus on Black Americans, brown Americans, and women who want to work outside the home as people who want the election where he uses that hideously racist and misleading ad to try and turn white voters away from the Democrats by arguing falsely that it was Michael Dukakis, the Democratic nominee that year, who had let this murderer and rapist out. That wasn't actually at all what happened. But you see increasingly this focus on Black Americans, brown Americans, and women who want to work outside the home as people who want something for nothing, as people who are socialists, as people who are, as Rush Limbaugh used to say, feminazis, as people who are embracing socialism or communism. And that focus on voters, telling their voters that they must stick with the Republicans and their tax cuts and their deregulation to create this system that is going to work for them, goes on for a couple of decades, a couple of generations even. And you end up in 2016 with the rise of Donald Trump, who very clearly turns that sort of uneasy marriage between the very wealthy businessmen who want tax cuts and deregulation to that marriage to the racism and the sexism and the homophobia of the base that they have created. So, and then, I've talked about this before, how Trump actually gets rid of the establishment Republicans who have been in power and basically courting that base without expecting to give them power, and he actually gives power to the base and so on. Now, the reason I gave you that very long history there was because if you have that background, an awful lot of what is going on right now makes a lot more sense.
Oh, that went by quickly. Let's click on this right here. Venezuela.
Highs. The economy has added.
What's the name of this video? Venezuela, Greenland. Let's see. This video is called This Week's in Politics Explainer. This was put up 4 days ago on Heather Cox Richardson's channel. All right.
So you asked a lot of questions. I'm going to see if I can pull them all together today. But I wanted to start in a different place than you asked about, because you may have not seen this. President Donald J. Trump spoke today to the House of Representatives, which is back in session, for a really long time. And he was all over the map, but he did say something that really jumped out to me. He said, and I quote, "They say that when you win the presidency, you lose the midterm." And then he said to the people to whom he was speaking, "I wish you could explain to me what the hell is going on with the mind of the public, because we have the right policy." Excuse me, because we have the right policy. They, meaning the Democrats, don't. They have horrible policy. They do stick together. They're violent. They're vicious people. They have the worst policy. How we have.
You know what's really funny? I was on my Facebook page yesterday, and there was a commenter, like I don't even know if I responded to him or not, because I was just stunned, because the commenter was like, the Democrats are a violent, vile group, and traitors, treason. They all traitors will be shot and hanged. And I was like, this rhetoric coming from Donald Trump is so toxic. It is catching on, and it's catching on with these people who don't seem bright enough to be able to realize that this man is maniacal and that there's something the matter with what it is that he's saying. Telling the troops that they do not have to obey unlawful orders is not treason. What Donald Trump is doing is treason. And in my video, I was cursing these these people who I consider to be stupid, cursing them out. And I'm like, don't you see that we're in the midst of a revolution? Like, you've been gathering all of these guns all of these years, saying that you were doing this because you're the resistance. But they don't realize that this is the time right now. Like, we're in the middle of a hostile government takeover. I just this is part of the reason that I'm going to be really honest with you all. I'm going to be honest with you all. This morning, for the first time ever, I have seriously begun searching for other countries. And I asked AI for a list, and AI gave me a list with the pros and cons of these different countries. Because from what it is that I'm seeing, I don't know if America can be saved, and I don't say that lightly, because what it'll take for America to be saved, I don't see the people being willing and or able to do. We have Stephen Miller up there talking about that we have a right to control this whole region and other sovereign nations, that we have a right to take Greenland and that Greenland should be ours. And I'm like, these people are out of control. And the only reason why these people are aligning with this party is because they're white. Even though they're subpar and mediocre, they're white. And so they're getting the benefit of the doubt. And it is very, very, very disturbing. All right, D Nice has been doing that as well. Yeah, I mean, because at the end of the day, how much are we going to be able to do in this country when the vast majority of people. So if you all are not aware of my other channel, I'll pull it up for you all right now, because the algorithm is just burying the channel now, and I really need you all to go over there and click on the channel, watch some of the shorts that are over there, share the shorts. That's why I'm making them into shorts, so that they'll be easier for you to share. So the channel is called TONYATKO Clips, CLIPS. So this is the other channel. And so I've been putting clips up over there in the shorts area and the other area. So if you see this video that I did that says Black Lives Matter, hashtag stay woke, 136 views. Like, the video has a community guideline thing on it, and there's nothing in this. Let me see what's in this video that would spark the algorithm, not the algorithm, but spark the computers. Let's see. Our lives did not our lives did not fucking matter. So that when we made an organization that said Black Lives Matter, motherfuckers came out and said all lives matter. Bitch, what? Black lives have not mattered in this country. When we told people to stay woke, look what these motherfuckers did. They turned Black Lives Matter into a quote unquote hate group. They turned stay woke into a fucking slur. The radical woke, anti-woke, this, that, and the other foolishness. Well, listen, I'm not allowing you all to co-opt the phrase, and I'm telling people still stay woke. Because the opposite of that is to stay asleep. And I realize that white people have been asleep for a very motherfucking long time. And I feel that white people, honestly, in terms of justice, cannot be trusted. Our lives did not fucking matter. So that when we made an organization, what in that video would get guideline or get restricted? What in that video? Come on, like, this, it's ridiculous where it is that we are. This is why I don't know what can be done for this country, honestly. But anyway, that's my other channel. If you could go support the other channel, that would be great. Let me thumbs this video up. Look, one comment, and that one comment is from me. Let me just go right on, Tonya. Let me capitalize my T. Right on, TKO. Like, I don't understand. This is, We're in some weird, weird times. And the crazy part is that we have the illusion of freedom. We have the illusion of having a voice when they are selling TikTok to a billionaire who wants to stop us from being able to get information. So that we have Elon Musk that now controls Twitter. We have Larry Ellison that's going to control TikTok. We have Zuckerberg that controls Instagram and Facebook. What do we have? There's fan base that is owned and operated by shareholders like the people and Isaac Hayes. But other than that, what do we have? Let's go.
To even run against these people. I won't say cancel the election. They should cancel the election because the fake news will say he wants the elections canceled. He's a dictator. They always call me a dictator. Nobody is worse than Obama.
I feel like this is just too much. Okay, black men are the treasonous bandits. Black women only have themselves. Becky still benefits from black men and the white supremacy system of oppression. Don't pity any one of them. You at 8 o'clock in the morning talking about some damn bandits. I just, this situation is so much larger than any black woman, black man beef. Like, I don't even have the capacity. At this point, you really, really, really have to be focused on you and your children and what it's going to mean if this country falls. We still using terminology from the early 2020s. Like, I'm over it, and I don't care about name calling black men. I really don't. What I really truly care about right now is naming the systems of white supremacy that we are under. Our biggest threat right now is white supremacy and this white supremacist system that we are under, surrounded by people who are sympathetic to a racist cause. I'm not saying that you have to align yourself with black men, because look, the community is in shambles. At this point, the conversation has to shift to you, your children, your parents, what you're going to do. How will you live out the rest of your life? That's what you really have to be concerned about right now. How are you going to live out the rest of your life? Because this country right here, if you pay attention to what the historians are saying, I don't know if this country can make it. Because people are so misinformed. People are disengaged. I had somebody, a friend, yesterday send me a video from a Latina talking about Mom Donnie and these houses that if you own a house in New York, I wanted to react to the video, but yesterday I was so fatigued. I couldn't even react to the video. Talking about if you own a home in New York and you try to sell your home, that you have to sell your home. You have to offer your home to a nonprofit. And my friend sent this video to me because my friend who does not live in New York is against Mom Donnie. And all it took was one quick Google search to disprove this video. But my friend, listen, my friend, I realize how important it is. You see, let me take the comments off the screen. Whew. We are being inundated with so much information from so many different places that we can't vet our sources. Not all of them. This is why I spoke to you all months ago about making sure that there is a standard that you have for the people that you listen to, because we let our guard down and we allow people to disseminate information to us, and they may not know what they're talking about. Look, all it takes to make all it takes to make a video is a cell phone and a ring light. That's all it takes. And we have so many people putting so much information out there, and they don't know what they're talking about. And we have such low standards in this country. Oh, God, we have such low standards. My friend sent me a video that was disproven with a 20-second Google search. Huh. How many more other people are just having information spread and disseminated from fearmongers? And it's like we should know better. But my friend, my own friend, did not know better. Like when I when I started this video, I started talking about the information that I had heard in this woman's video, right? Without fact checking the information myself, because I trust the source that the information is coming from. There was a man who wrote me today, and I've been sending a lot of people a lot of messages behind the scenes because, you know, I'm trying to get into a PhD program. There's a lot of things that I'm trying to do. So I've been sending a lot of messages to people behind the scenes, and most of the people don't respond. So a man wrote to me this morning, and he said, I would like to get on your show to talk about narcissistic abuse, and I wrote a book, etc., right? I go to his page and I see, you know, a bunch of posts about narcissistic abuse. And rather than leaving the message in the other folder unresponded to, because I haven't been getting responded to by a lot of people, I decided I would respond back to this man. And I said, what are your professional or educational, what did I say? What did I say to this man? I was basically, what is your professional or educational background that qualifies you to speak on this topic? With Amazon on demand, we got anybody who could write any book. Back in the days, journalists had to have, this is so much. Oh. Back in the days, journalists had to have training, and they had to adhere to a standard of ethic. Now, we got any and everybody on the microphone. And the thing is that we as human beings, we are programmed to listen to storytelling, to be able to get our knowledge and information from storytelling. So we relent when we hear a person that is telling a story and it sounds like they know what they're talking about. But anybody and everybody's becoming a storyteller. And the thing is that we have disrespected the elders, and we are worshiping youth. We're worshiping the people least qualified to be able to lead. All it takes to be a leader right now is to be cute, to get plastic surgery, to have your face look a certain way in the European standards of beauty. then get a phone and a ring light and start talking. Be able to drum up a crowd. That's all it takes. Like my feed, my timeline has become so cluttered with content creators who are well-meaning, but they got these clickbait titles and they got pictures up inside the thumbnail, and then you go into the video and and it's not even about what the thumbnail is. So that when I see a post from Don Lemon, I click on it because I know at least when I click in on the video that because Don Lemon used to be a journalist, so I guess he's still a journalist, that at least there's some modicum of journalistic integrity coming from his channel. But we are living in a system that is inundated from unqualified people speaking about things that they don't know. I feel so tired. I feel so tired. I just want to go to a country where I can feel safe, where inclusion isn't a slur, where saying that your life matters isn't considered hate. I just want to go someplace where I can lay down and sleep well at night, where I don't have to worry about whether or not the people who make up the majority of this country are just going to one day decide that they're going to take action about the rhetoric that they are being fed so freely and with abandon, unabashedly. I just feel so tired. That these people in this country have so not wanted equality that they are destroying the country to stop from everybody being able to live comfortably. That they still want you to be beneath them. Chris Cuomo has turned, God, I can't even say his name anymore. Chris Cuomo has turned into a MAGA foot soldier. He went the complete opposite way. So it's like, just because he was a journalist doesn't mean that they still have journalistic integrity. I honestly don't know what to say. I do my paintings, my drawings, I write poetry to disseminate, but it's so much. It's so much going on. Somebody's saying some places are banning Americans. That means some of these places who are banning Americans, they're most likely talking about white Americans. Just go talk to the consulate. Go talk to their government over there. People can see and recognize that black people have been subjugated in this country. And Burkina Faso and these other places that are banning Americans, just go talk to their government and let them know that you're a black person seeking asylum from this motherfucking regime over here. And the crazy part is that, remember when we all loved Chris Cuomo so much, the people were Cuomo-sexuals, remember all of that? And then it just turned into a huge boondoggle. Once his brother came up on charges, the whole thing just went downhill from there. And the mask came off and everything began to unravel. You don't even see him and Don Lemon speaking anymore. Let me see what you all are saying. AI needs regulations and laws. Listen, they want it like this because, listen, that video that I did with the African man where he was saying the white man saved Africa, somebody came and was like, can't you all see that this is AI just for rage bait? And I'm like, we've gotten to the point that Anything and everything is now considered AI. They want you to not be able to believe your eyes. That's what they want. This is on purpose and by design. I don't even know what else to say, honestly. I feel so tired. And I know that that's not a healthy way to speak, because when you start saying things like that, the universe is like, all right, bet, I got you, rest. And then you go into your forever slumber. And that's not what I want. I don't want to leave this earth because I'm tired. I want the stamina to be able to do what it is that I need to do on this earth while we still have a chance. I want the stamina. That's what I want. I don't want to go out early. I want stamina. I want my mind. I want my mind to stay cohesive. I want my heart to stay whole. And I want my spirit to stay intact. That's what I want. Maybe that cry needed to happen because I've been having a hard time trying to cry on my own. Like this morning, after I saw that video, the very first one that we were watching, I just remember when I was a little girl and they had Smokey the Bear and they had all of these images of campgrounds and things. I just remember that in the 80s, things seemed so different. I remember thinking that there was going to be a time when I grew up and everything was going to be all right. That it was going to be a wonderful place to be. And I heard echoing through my mind, my country, 'tis of thee, sweet land of liberty, of, of thee I sing. And there's nobody that's coming to save us. Because America was the watchdog of the world. And America told other countries, you don't need a military as long as we have a military. So that people trusted America, and now America has gone rogue with all of its military might. My country, 'tis of thee, sweet land of liberty, of thee I sing. So, the facade of freedom, you're right. And we've been living under it for so long, thinking that if we just do this and tweak that and switch that, that maybe things will be all right. But it was never designed for us to be all right. This country was designed for inequality. The founding fathers did not consider black people to be human, and they wrote the Constitution in such a way that we were not. Someone is saying America has always gone through these times. We can and will bounce back, but not to what we used to be. I totally understand. I cried for my country and what I thought was our way of life. I realized I grew up in a lie and a lot of propaganda. Elle says, I'm tearing up. I don't want to make people sad. I really don't. I don't want to make people sad. I really don't, but I need us to begin to prepare ourselves to realize that in order for this country to be saved, that it has to be ratified in the Constitution that all men and women are equal. And I don't think that this country is ready to do that. I don't think this country is ready to do that. All right. All right. Let's go, y'all. Let's get back into the video that we were watching by the here. You know what? We could put on a happy song and we could move around a little bit. I'm looking at the controls that are in place. You know, it's gotten to the point on Facebook where, because somebody reminded me about a page that I used to love back in the days, but I don't see the page anymore because Facebook is more concerned with putting people on my timeline who they think I want to see. Like, people never see my regular videos because the algorithm favors, you know, incendiary videos. So they never get a chance to see the other ones. D Nice is saying, look for jobs abroad. We need to get out of these capitalistic systems. I feel so tired. I was supposed to work out this morning. That's part of the reason that I don't make videos in the mornings, because I'm supposed to work out in the morning. So once I work out, then I don't even feel like making a video anymore. But then if I make a video before I work out, then I don't feel like working out anymore. Because like after this, I just feel like laying down. Koja is telling the truth right there. See the comment on the screen that America was made for white men only, and the Constitution created to uphold white patriarchy. White men will rip up democracy if white men are not in power. Absolutely, absolutely. Like, whiteness is a disease that needs to be done away with. The Constitution means nothing right now. We are past implementing and abiding. Listen, I used to love TikTok because TikTok used to serve me videos that I love to watch. And now I'm considering closing up my TikTok page. Facebook doesn't even pay me anymore. So I'm considering, I really just don't know, because it's like, I wasn't on TikTok for like the first few years of TikTok. And what ended up happening is somebody else got the name Tonya TKO on TikTok, some woman in Ukraine. Not only that, but other people were uploading my videos over there. So it's like, if I don't upload my videos over there, somebody else will upload my videos over there. So it's like, I really honestly don't know what to do. I don't know what to do.
And the people that surrounded Biden. There's an back in session. So you asked a lot of questions. I'm going to see if I can pull them all together today. But I wanted to start in a different place than you asked about, because you may have not seen this. President Donald J. Trump spoke today to the House of Representatives, which is back in session, for a really long time. And he was all over the map, but he did say something that really jumped out to me. He said, and I quote, "They say that when you win the presidency, you lose the midterm." And then he said to the people to whom he was speaking, "I wish you could explain to me what the hell is going on with the mind of the public, because we have the right policy." Excuse me, because we have the right policy. They, meaning the Democrats, don't. They have horrible policy. They do stick together. They're violent. They're vicious people. They have the worst policy. How we have to even run against these people. I won't say cancel the election. They should cancel the election, because the fake news will say he wants the elections canceled. He's a dictator. They always call me a dictator. Nobody is worse than Obama and the people that surrounded Biden. There's an important rhetorical piece there in what Trump was saying that I think explains an awful lot of what's going on in his administration. And that is, for 40 years now, since the 1980s, the Republicans have insisted that their policies are the only ones that will work, and that the Democratic policies, which are actually really quite popular, if you strip away the parties, people like what the Democrats do. If you strip away the names, the polls show they like the kinds of policies that Democrats embrace. Republicans have insisted that those policies are socialism, that they are handing money from the hardworking white taxpayer to undeserving minorities and so on, even though since 1981, actually, I think it's since 1976. More than $50 trillion has moved from the bottom 90% of Americans up to the top 1%. So they've really pushed this rhetoric, the idea that any Democratic policy is by definition bad, and that the people who vote for it, often women, people of color, Black Americans, are either illegitimate voters. They talk a lot about voter fraud, although there's never been any evidence that they're of anything other than a few odd ducks voting twice or whatever, never anything to change an election. That they either insist that there has been voter fraud, or that the people who are voting for Democratic policies are illegitimate. They shouldn't vote. They should lose their vote. And this is what's behind voter suppression. Well, the logic of that says that Republicans should win all the elections. The Democrats should never win an election. And that really jumped out to me in this moment, of course, when we're looking at a president who is extraordinarily unpopular. He's at historic levels of unpopularity, facing a midterm election, which most pundits think the Democrats are really going to romp the Republicans in that election. And here he is saying, well, maybe we shouldn't even have elections because, our policies are so much better than the Democrats are. And I want to chase that down a little bit before I actually talk about the difference in those policies. So if you think about this idea that the Democratic policies are terrible and only the Republicans know how to rule, then you can see the logic behind January 6th, 2021, an attempt to overturn the election of November 2020, in which Democrat Joe Biden won election by more than 7 million votes. The election was not close. It was not close in the Electoral College either. In fact, somewhat ironically, Biden won that election in the Electoral College by the same margin that Trump won it in 2016 over Hillary Clinton, the Democratic candidate, although Trump in 2016 did not win the majority of the vote. You'll remember that's one of those occasions on which more people voted for the person who did not end up in the White House. That idea that a Democrat could not be legitimately elected, all evidence to the contrary, is something that Trump has increasingly latched onto. And one of the things that came out today was an attempt of the official White House website to insist that January 6th was caused not by Trump, not by the Republicans who were trying to destroy our peaceful transfer of power and the election of Democrat Joe Biden, but rather it blames the Democrats by saying that they refused to recognize that Trump had been the true winner in that election.
What worries me about this moment is that official government websites are being used to push propaganda and rhetoric, and that there are not enough people in the governmental positions of power pushing back against this. And I honestly don't know what to say. I don't know what to say, because now Trump is talking about not having elections. It's like, what is it going to take for people to stop him and to stop the party as it's going? Because they could stop him, but we already see that J.D. Vance is coming more and more to the forefront with his rhetoric.
Definition. And that is going to be a really important frame, I think, going forward. It's also an important way to think about what Trump and his cronies, people like Russell Vought at the Office of Management and Budget and Stephen Miller as the Deputy White House Chief of Staff, have done since they've been in power. Because what they are doing is they are erasing the U.S. government that has been in place since World War II, a time when you started to see the democratization not only of domestic policy, but also of world policy. They're trying to get rid of all that altogether, because those policies, those incredibly popular policies that seek to restrain power and use it, in fact, to deter wars rather than cause them, and seek to use power domestically in such a way that people create laws that create systems in which people have a say in their government and have equal access to resources. They're trying to get rid of all that, to go back before we had that system, arguing that that system is in fact no good, as Trump said. But I've pulled for fun a quote from Peter Baker of the New York Times when Joe Biden took office after Trump had been in office before. On January 5th of 2025, Peter Baker wrote that the U.S. that Biden was leaving was in better shape than the U.S. had been since at least 2000. And he explained why. He said, there are no U.S. troops fighting in foreign wars. Murders have plummeted. Deaths from drug overdoses have dropped sharply. Undocumented immigration is below where it was when Trump left office. Stocks have just had their best 2 years since the last century. The economy is growing. Real wages are rising. Inflation has fallen close to its normal range. Unemployment is at near historic lows. Energy production is at historic highs. The economy has added more than 700,000 manufacturing jobs among the 16 million total created since 2020. The chief economist of Moody's Analytics, Mark Zandi, said, quote, President Trump is inheriting an economy that is about as good as it ever gets. That is, the system of government that the United States really pioneered under Franklin Delano Roosevelt, although it had its roots in the progressive era under people like Republican President Theodore Roosevelt, uses the power of the federal government to, as I say, restrain power internationally, and at the same time uses the power of the federal government to make sure that people have equal access to resources. They have things like education. They have healthcare. They have decent roads. They have opportunities to get an education. They have opportunities to be entrepreneurs. They have opportunities to buy houses. That sort of an economy benefits the most people. It creates a roaring economy. It always has, for all the rhetoric to the contrary. So Trump has this idea that if only people like him can be in power, everything is going to be great. America is going to be great again. And that means erasing everything that Democrats have done. So where has that gotten us of late? And I may not have the time to go into domestic policy now, but I very well might do it with Jim in a little bit. But the obvious place to start here is with whatever is happening in Venezuela. And I will get there in just a second. I want to start by saying a lot of you asked about the 25th Amendment and its policies for removing the president of the United States in case that person is incapacitated. And the answer to that is it's really quite complicated. You have to have a majority of the cabinet. There's a number of different places that the 25th is a problem. And yet, one of the things that we are not talking about enough is the fact that the president of the United States does not appear to be mentally competent. He cannot keep a solid idea in his head. He's flitting all over the place. He is falling asleep at meetings. He looked the other day at the announcement of the Venezuela strikes as if he were going to fall asleep standing up. And remember, his behavior is enormously erratic. It is sometimes unusually aggressive. So when he went after that journalist by calling her piggy, if you notice, the next day he was all happy and jolly and touching MBS, the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia. And he's not a touchy kind of guy, but he was he was happy and jolly and touching him. And the next day he did the same thing with Zohran Mamdani, the now mayor of New York City. And I looked at that, and I am 1,000% not a doctor, at least not a medical doctor. And I thought, this looks medically induced to me. This extraordinary aggression followed by, the laughter and he's a nice guy and the touching seemed to me to be an indication that there's a real struggle behind the scenes to keep Trump able to function, at least enough for the cameras. Because remember, when we see him at his best. And a lot of people said, well, isn't J.D. Vance going to be worse? And the answer to that is under zero circumstances do you ever want to have the leader of a country who appears not to be in control of his mental faculties. You just don't know what he's going to do, and you don't know if people are going to stop him. So no matter what else happens, keep a watch on Trump's mental ability. The fact that this is not headline news every minute of the day is simply beyond me. The things that people seem in the media to be shrugging off that if any other president had done them would have been headline news for weeks is sort of mind-boggling, but there we are. So when you look at what happened in Venezuela, I will emphasize Trump's mental acuity, but I will also emphasize the fact that under this administration, it is extremely difficult to tell what is happening. That is normally in an administration, and the Biden administration was like this. You can't really shut them up. They want everyone to know what they're doing, except when they don't. And that's when you look at the public announcements, and you have to have sources within an administration or make guesses about what's really going on. And that's kind of what people like me are trained to do. Now, in this administration, they've made it a point to make sure we don't know what's going on. The White House is not reprinting Trump speeches. They're putting up videos for when he seems like he's saying, they clip them so that he sounds like he's better than he really is. One of the reasons I print his speeches in full is that people understand what they're really seeing here is not the clips that you're getting in places like the White House website.
Wow, it's time for us to get up and move again. I can't believe that 35 minutes has gone by that quickly. So let us find some music. Let's see what this is right here.
I am on top of the world. I am on top of my life.
You came with summer, a love like no.
Can you imagine just anything? Can you
I'm with
picture
it.
pictures of things that never was? Or can you only picture pictures of other dreamers, elusive dreams like used up reality? Did you ever succeed in
study that shows that when you're on the floor and you need to get up from the floor, that the amount of points of contact that you have to get up from the floor determines your overall longevity and health. So I do want us to practice going down onto the floor and getting up from there, so the things that we need to work on as we get older are maintaining our balance, strength training, and mobility, being able to get up from a seated position on the floor. If these are things that you can't do, or you have 2 to 3 points of contact in order to get up off of the floor, then your health is at question. All right, so let's continue going forward. I want you to just stretch, to do something to get up and move the blood flow around. This song sounds kind of weird, but well, let's see where it takes us.
Are you a true poet, or did you read your cards all wrong and don't really know where you belong? The grass is bathing in morning dew. The night still lingers. Push away the new day. Hold on to what you know. Hold on to what you know. Dreamers and believers see the other side. Illusionists and preachers breaking.
All right, you all saw me go down onto the floor and get back up. How many of you could go down onto the floor seated and then get back up without using any hands? If you look, do it now, test yourself and then see. All right, you talking about you're gonna be a part of the revolution, you can't get up off the floor, sis? No, get up out your seat. Let's see this. Come on.
Can you also see something through the mist? I can see dancing ghosts. Rising up from the underground, they dance for us, pointing out the direction home.
All right now, you see I did it.
How deep is the divorce between light and what we see? How vast is the distance between words and reality? Are you one of the lightless seekers? One of the speechless speakers?
I can't do
One
this
of the
anymore. I
sleepless
can't.
dreamers?
I don't know what's going on with this song, but I cannot do it anymore. I can't. I can't do it. I can't. It started like Thriller. I don't know what was going on with that. Come on, then, let's do it.
Time leaves a year behind, almost gone into the night. Memories linger dark and bright. Who speaks louder in my heart? Oh, 입을 함께 해요. 지난 추억은 보내줘. Raise your glass to the brand new day. Say you're still love, joy, and tears
Yeah, I don't know what was going on with that song, but if you got up and you moved to that, that was 4 minutes, and then we did this song for another minute. So you got in 5 minutes of movements. I don't know what was going on. I was trying to go with it, but it turned into something. I don't know what that was. I don't know what that was. Exactly. I was like, wait, what did this, what somebody said it got weirder and weirder by the second. You know what this reminds me of? This reminds me of those horror movies that are so bad that they're funny. It's like that song was so whatever it was that it actually caused me to laugh on a very sad day. That was something else. All right. So I know most of you got up and you tested yourself to see if you could get down on the floor and back up. So I want you all to be honest, and I want you to put up the number of how many points of contact you had to place onto the floor in order to be able to get up. So I need to see how many points of contact I had. Let me see. So if you put your hand on the floor, your knee on the floor, your other hand, that's 3 points of contact. So let me see how many points of contact I have to get up on the floor. That's all. I don't know what was going on. All right, so I'm going to get down onto the floor. I'm on the floor now. And then I'm going to get up. This is 1. And that's 2. Okay, so I have 2 points of contact. Left knee down, and then right knee pull up. I don't know what was going on with that song, but it gave me a good laugh. So I want you to put in how many points of contact. All right, so Miss Jonesy says 1. Okay, Miss Jonesy, I hear you, girl. Let's see. Uh, you know what? That is really interesting that Europe is broke and now they want control of these S-hole countries, as they call them. That is very interesting, right? So it's like, what are they doing with the money? Where's the money going? It's very, very interesting. Thank you for bringing that up. All right, let's jump back into our video real quick. I want to hear what else she has to say. So Nai is saying 0 points of contact. So what you're saying is that you can go from a seated position and then jump up onto your feet. That's what you're saying. That you go from seated. Let me know how you do it, Nai, because I don't know if we're counting correctly. So you're saying no points of contact. So you went from seating on the floor to jumping up onto your feet. All right. Okay. And then Lovely is saying the same thing. Okay. All right. All right. Look. All right. Hey, if you all are jumping up from a seated position, more power to you. All right. I mean, I'd like to see that. I'd like to see it. Can you show me how it's done, mistress? Show me how it's done. Send me a video of how you go from seated to standing with no points of contact on the floor. Let me know how it's done. Let me know how it's done.
So at the same time, we just don't know what's going on. So what has happened in Venezuela seems to me, and I am prefacing this by saying, listen, I read all the stuff that comes out, everything I can get my hands on, and I cannot give you a definitive account of what just happened behind the scenes on the way to American strikes against the president of Venezuela, Nicolas Maduro. I can tell you what I have read, and I have a much clearer picture, I think, of what's happened with the small boats. But in terms of that strike, here's what it looks like to me. And again, please recognize that I'm telling you what I've seen in the reports, but I would expect a lot of this will be revised. It appears, emphasize on appears again, historians hate to do this. I mean, I would never put this in print because you want to make sure you got a footnote for everything. And in this case, I can give you footnotes for everything I'm going to say, but a lot of it's going to turn out to be, oops, we were wrong. There's one piece of information that appeared, then got retracted, and I showed it and then retracted it, and now it's back on the table again. And at this point, I'm like, okay, I'm out until we have a better idea. Anyway, I'll stop putting up hedges around what I'm going to say. It appears that what happened is this: the Trump administration, under Secretary of State Marco Rubio and under Deputy White House Chief of Staff Stephen Miller, have been putting real pressure on Maduro in Venezuela because they wanted him to step down. They wanted to put somebody in place there who was going to be more malleable, somebody who was more likely to permit American oil interests to have better access to the Venezuelan oil fields, which are very valuable oil fields, although they produce quite a crude form of oil. So they were putting pressure on him, and Trump moved down huge amounts of American military forces. And the one thing I would like to see, I do know it costs about $6.5 million a day to deploy a carrier group. That's just to deploy it. I would love to know how much this escapade has cost us, because one of the things, again, that we're not talking about is that the U.S. Deficit and debt has skyrocketed under Trump. For all the idea that the Department of Government Efficiency was supposed to cut our costs, they're going through the roof. And that's just going to get worse now that those tax cuts have been extended in the July budget reconciliation bill. Anyway, it appears what happened is they were putting pressure on Maduro to step down so that they could have somebody who's more malleable. And when he didn't do that, it got personal for Trump. And so they decided to make this strike, this lightning strike, that would just grab Maduro.
Leaning on the wall is a point of contact. What were your legs doing? So at one hand on the wall, then what were your legs doing? So you went from a seated position and you scaled the wall up like this. So you were seated, you put your hand on the wall, and then you just pulled yourself up. I don't use the wall. I don't know what's going on here. Get up from the seated position with no tools. You know what you can do if you don't understand my instructions? Just look it up. Look up the getting up from the floor aging predictions. Let me see if I can Google this for you and see if what you would need to Google, because they did a study on it. Okay. Getting up from floor. Okay. Floor aging prediction. Let's see. All right. So this is what is on my, okay. Okay. The ability to get up from the floor without support, assessed by the sitting rising test, is a strong predictor of healthy aging, balance, strength, flexibility, and longevity, with lower scores requiring more support linked to higher mortality risk, especially for cardiovascular issues. This simple test, scored out of 10 points, reveals functional fitness components that decline with age, highlighting the importance of maintaining core strength, hip mobility, and balance to stay independent and reduce fall risk as you get older. All right, and then let's see, let's click on show more. How it works, okay? It says, start standing and sit down on the floor with legs crossed. Then stand back up without using hands, knees, or other support. Scoring 10 points maximum, 5 for sitting down, 5 for standing up. Deduct 1 point for use of hands, knees, or forearms for support. A half point for wobbling. Oh my gosh, please look this test up yourself. And then look to different sources to be able to help you figure out how to do this test, because I want you all to be as healthy as possible. All right, that's what I want for us. I want you to be as healthy as possible. So let's figure out how we do that. Okay.
Maduro and his wife, leaving in place Maduro's vice president, who has now taken the oath of the presidency, a woman whose it's Delcy Rodriguez. But what's really interesting about that is that happened. That's what they did. And then the next day, Trump had that press conference. First, he called him the Fox News Channel. And then he had that press conference. And at the press conference, he said, we're going to be running Venezuela. And that apparently was news to Secretary of State Marco Rubio, and possibly to Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth. It was maybe not such a surprise to Stephen Miller, and who is angling to become the person in charge of Venezuela, in part because he wants to deport a lot of Venezuelans, right? So it appears that that was a surprise. And so on Sunday, you had Marco Rubio walking all that back and saying, no, we're just going to pressure Venezuela by continuing our capture of oil tankers that are sanctioned, and that's actually legal. When an oil tanker is sanctioned and doing something it shouldn't be, countries can grab it. So that was a real walk back. But at the same time, it appears from where I sit that this was actually somewhat of a work of genius on the part of the Venezuelan ruling party, and on the part of perhaps Cuba, and quite possibly on the part of Russia, in the sense that of this. Anybody knows, even if you don't study foreign affairs, if you know anything about the American Civil War, for example, you know that the best way to unify a population behind you is to have someone attack you. Look at Netanyahu after October 7th. Look at the American war effort in the Civil War when the Confederacy invaded Gettysburg, invaded Pennsylvania. Once somebody is on your turf, it changes the equation. So what has happened since the U.S. grabbed Maduro is that his vice president, who was not popular, remember they lost the election in 2024, has cracked down on the opposition and has taken the oath of office. And when doing so, she embraced the foreign ambassadors from Russia, Iran, and Cuba, if I recall correctly. So what we managed to have done is to solidify the power of that group that Trump theoretically was going to weaken. And that's put him in the position of going, oh, well, we might do a second strike. Against whom? I mean, if the idea was that this was a law enforcement operation, which is the fig leaf that Marco Rubio is using, who's next? I mean, what are we going to do, right? I mean, there's just a complete fog over everything that's happening there. At the same time that Trump has this fantasy that the oil companies are going to want to rebuild the Venezuelan oil facilities, and they don't. The facilities have been degrading now for at least 20 years. They don't know what they're getting into, and they don't know who's going to be running the country. So why would you want to invest $100 billion into bringing those back online in the way that they could be? And now you've got Trump saying, well, maybe the U.S. will subsidize that, and that's simply not going to fly. All right, so we don't really know what's going on there, but at the same time, it certainly appears that Trump, perhaps, and maybe with the pushing of Stephen Miller, who's been the face of this out in the media, is really, really pushing the idea of overturning the rules-based international order, which is what I spoke about last Saturday when we had first gotten the news about Venezuela, and that is fitting for somebody like Miller, who is all about power, is all about he seems quite a disturbed individual, and really is pushing the idea that with the might of the United States, the people in charge can do anything they want, apparently not recognizing that the real power of the American country has always been in its restraint and in its deterrence and in its trade and its soft power, its welcoming of other people, and its work around the world through things like the Voice of America, for example, which Trump has gotten rid of, or through the public broadcasting system, which they've also gotten rid of. So Stephen Miller seems to think that the way to go is for the United States.
The public broadcasting station is gone? Excuse me? Hold up. What? Hold up. Wait, what? Wait. What? This happened 4 days ago. This is saying 4 days ago. Look, 2 days ago, 4 days ago. Which one of these sources can we trust? Can we trust USA Today? Let's click on USA Today. Oh my goodness. All right, let's see. I feel very confused about what's going on. Like, is this real life? Like PBS gone? It says, after more than half a century in operation, the nonprofit responsible for funding the public media giant NPR and PBS will dissolve following millions in budget cuts spurred by the Trump administration. The board of the Corporation for Public Broadcasting voted to dissolve the organization on January 5th after Congress voted in July to claw back $1.1 billion that had been allocated for its use. President Donald Trump has rallied against The CPB, NPR, and PBS, since the start of his presidency, accusing the organization of failing to present a fair, accurate, or unbiased portrayal of current events to tax-paying citizens. Trump has repeatedly targeted media organizations that he perceived as airing content that is unfavorable towards his administration. The CPB attributed its closure to the lack of funding and sustained political attacks, saying it could no longer function as intended upon the 1967 founding, as previously reported by USA Today. CPB was the primary funder of NPR, PBS, and associated stations and properties. Both organizations have previously warned that they would struggle to continue operating without the support of federal monies. Okay. Bob Ross. Mr. Rogers. This is the reason right here. Oh, Arthur. Hey, what a wonderful world today. Oh, gosh. We depend on each other. America's Antiques Roadshow. American Experience, the documentary. The life of civil rights activist Fannie Lou Hamer. Austin City Limits, a concert series set by the University of Texas of Austin. Dolly Parton was also in the show. So was B.B. King. Loretta Lynn. Oh, I was born a coal miner's daughter in a cabin up in Sleepy Holler. Oh, I forget how the song goes. Oh my goodness. Kendrick Lamar. Oh wow, this is John Lennon, right? American Masters, John Lennon. Oh look, James Baldwin. Leonard Bernstein, a composer. Who is this? Keeping Up with the Kardashians. Why does this look so old? Oh, wait. Oh, pre-Keeping Up with the Kardashians, PBS aired An American Family in 1973, which is thought of as the first TV reality reality show. Masterpiece Theater was the edge of your seat BBC show Sherlock. Oh, interesting. The two-season drama Upstairs, Downstairs, which chronicled the lives of a London family and their live-in help. What is this? Les Miserables with actors Dominic West and David Oyelowo. The mystery series Grantchester. Oh, what is this? Paging Nurse Franklin? Okay. Bob Villa served as host for the renovation series This Old House from 1979 until 1989. Oh, interesting. Master carpenter for the series, which is still on the air, Norm Abram. Uh, this Old House. Oh, wow. Filmmaker Ken Burns has created numerous documentaries for PBS. Oh, this is Jackie Robinson. The Central Park Five tells the story of the oh, this is another reason right here. The teenage minorities. Hank Williams was the subject of country music, a documentary, I guess. This is Burns in the center, cinematographer Buddy Squires, and screenwriter Dayton Duncan. Made a documentary about the national parks. Uh, Finding Your Rods with Henry Louis Gates Jr. Oh my goodness. This is Melissa McCarthy. Oh, she's lost so much weight. I didn't even recognize her. Journalist Ann Curry has been a guest. Oh, as the former Law and Order star S. Apatha Murkison. Oh, look, I remember this show. This was the one where they do the DNA stuff, right? Oh, Jeff Goldblum. Oh my goodness. Is this, oh, wait, a beauty book by entrepreneur Madam C.J. Walker, America's first self-made female millionaire. Oh my goodness. Then we have journalists, we have performances, Tony Bennett. How, I mean, it's like we, I just don't know how we didn't hear about this. It's like they're doing so much stuff that we can't hear about everything. This is crazy. I'm stunned right now.
Power is all about, he seems quite a disturbed individual and really is pushing the idea that with the might of the United States, the people in charge can do anything they want, apparently not recognizing that the real power of the American country has always been in its restraint and in its deterrence and in its trade and its soft power, its welcoming of other people and its work around the world through things like the Voice of America, for example, which Trump has gotten rid of, or through the public broadcasting system, which they've also gotten rid of. So Stephen Miller seems to think that the way to go is for the United States to stop being the global power that it always was since World War II, which has been, it's been a huge boon to the United States. It's also been not a bad boon for the world. We've done a lot of things that we are not proud of. And as a historian, that's the kind of thing that I focus on. But one of the things that a lot of people focus on is the fact that the rules-based international order has lifted more than 1 billion people out of poverty since it went into place. And that's everybody. That's not just people in the Western Hemisphere or in the United States of America and so on. It is the fact that countries like China, with freedom of the seas that is protected by the rules-based international order, were able to increase their trade dramatically. And that did wonders for Asia, among other places. So he wants to get rid of that and get rid of the American power around the world and instead reduce us to being a regional power, taking over the Western Hemisphere. And this is why there is now all this talk from Trump of attacking Cuba, attacking Colombia. And Trump, I think, doesn't really understand what's at stake. He thinks the United States military can continue to do these kind of strikes, which the U.S. military probably can, but it's not at all. And Trump is saying, well, we don't care about, we'll do regime change. It's okay with us to have people there. Probably not going to fly in the United States to have more forever wars. But what a lot of people asked about was the rhetorical attacks on Greenland. Those are really interesting because remember, Greenland is an autonomous territory that is part of the Kingdom of Denmark. And Denmark and the United States were two of the original signatories to the creation of the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, or NATO. We've been allies since NATO began in, I'm going to go with 1949 off the top of my head. We've been allies. Greenland is our ally. We have a base on Greenland. So if the United States really wanted to beef up our presence in Greenland, the way to do that would be for the president to pick up the phone and say, hey guys, we'd like to increase our footprint in Greenland. And Denmark would almost certainly say, sure, come on over. Because that's the relationship that we have had now for 80 years. But Trump doesn't want that. He wants control of Greenland. And that's a different thing. And that, I think, goes back to where I started here. The idea that what Trump is really looking for is a world where a very few people who make all the right decisions, right, can simply take the resources of other countries. They can take Venezuelan oil. They can take the rare earth minerals in Greenland. They can, and mind you, Canada is also very much something he wants. Whereas the rest of us recognize that the real power of America was global, because what we were doing was we were facilitating trade. We were facilitating the exchange of ideas. We were facilitating the ability of populations to avoid disease, which we destroyed with when we pulled out of USAID. You know, we were the anchor, the backstop of the rules-based international order. Again, not to say that we didn't screw that up on more than one occasion, but what Trump is saying is, I want to get rid of all of that. Anything that involves the voices of people who I consider Democrats, because any Republican who opposes him, he probably just calls a Democrat, is going to be erased. We want to get rid of all that because we're the only ones who know how to run a society. When he does that, what he is doing is he is echoing people like Vladimir Putin. And he is believing that it's better for him to be in a position of extracting the resources from places like Venezuela for himself and his friends than he is being part of a system that forces him to share with women and people of color in other countries. And the thing about that is twofold. Let me start small and go.
This is white supremacy through and through. They think because they're white that they have manifest destiny, that they have the ability to just conquer people. This is part of the problem that we have had with allowing mediocre white men to be in charge, because they don't have the intelligence, they don't have the sophistication, they don't have the skill set, and yet they're still put in power. And we have continued to let mediocre white men run this country into the ground. And they think that they have the ability to say, well, I'm more important than you are. What I want supersedes your wants because you're a person of color, you're a country of people of color, and I am the mighty white man. This is a problem.
Big. The first piece of that is Trump's attack on Venezuela and his statement that he's going to take it over is, again, was apparently news to a lot of the people around him. But it's not news to somebody like Vladimir Putin. And there's been a lot of discussion lately of the fact that Putin had made a suggestion that Trump could have Venezuela if he could simply take over Ukraine. That idea that big countries can take smaller countries is what got us into World Wars I and II. And what happens when you do that, of course, is that smaller countries need to take protection from the bigger countries, but they also start to band together in order to protect themselves against those bigger countries and other countries nearby. And pretty soon, people are using their power not for deterrence, which is what NATO is about. You attack us, you're going to get all of these countries coming back at you. And that's really worked incredibly well. We will lose that, and that will give us a world that led to World Wars I and World War II, with the addition now of nuclear weapons. And I talked about that last Saturday. So there's that, but there's also something that just is so stupid, I can't even believe I have to say this. If the United States takes over the Venezuelan oil fields, yeah, it gets a lot of crude oil. Oil is the technology of the 19th century and the 20th century.
Thank you.
It's done. I mean, I know we use it still, but it is not the technology of the future. But if we do that, we essentially give Xi Jinping the green light to take over Taiwan. Guess what's in Taiwan? 60% of the semiconductors in the world. That's the technology of the 21st and the 22nd century. And so by giving Trump this little, here, you can have a lollipop.
Give me 1 second. I need to get some more water because I'm making my protein shake for the day. I need to start drinking my protein. So let me put on some music. I got you. Not that last thing we were listening to.
Is falling through the night. I see it in your eyes. Ooh, as we count from 3 to 1, my dreams will come alive. I feel it in your smile. Remember all the days you stumbled. Remember how you felt like you would never get back. I see you're standing, oh, you're singing. Nothing's lost, every fall, every rise. Oh, 이밤을 함께해요. 지난 추억은 보내줘요. Raise your glass to the brand new day. Say you still love joy and tears we shared.
All right. Thank you for your patience. Thank you. We're back. You know, the world feels very unsafe right now because we have not done away with white supremacy, and we have people in their mediocre thinking who feel that their recessive genes are actually a point of superiority. And I hate that I got so angry in some of my recent videos, but this is righteous anger. Like, my anger is righteous. For those of you who are just coming in, on my other channel, I'm uploading shorts from my videos where I'm really letting these people have it. Like, I could play one or two of them. This is, let's see. What's happening here? Oh, okay. So let's see. Oh, that's me cursing out the troll. I've lost a lot of respect for white America today. They don't care, and they never have cared. And I want to know, what have these people been doing for all of these years when black people have been out there on the front line trying to make change? Like, they don't care and don't give a damn about an equitable, free country for all. All they cared about was their own comfort so that they could sit up on the damn porch drinking mint juleps while you out there toiling. Joy DeGruy said that the way that they worked the African, that their bodies would only last for 7 years.
Muscle actually detached itself from the bone as a result of exertion and not injury.
And that in the grave, when they dug up the bodies, because you know they turned so many burial grounds into prime property and real estate, when they dug the bodies and the archaeologists, when they looked at the bodies, the muscles were torn from the bones, the cartilage disjointed. They worked so hard that their limbs came undone. And you were all right with that as long as you could have on your big damn pretty frock, going to your cotillions and drinking mint julep on the backs of black people. And even to this motherfucking day, you will talk about how we don't deserve reparations and we built this country. We built this bitch. And it is all right for you to have the upper hand and the upper leg as long as there's somebody underneath you for you to throw your fucking heels up onto. Nah, I've lost a lot of respect for white America today. They don't care. So those shorts are on the other page, Tonya TKO clips. Let me see if there's another one. I don't know how I could ever forgive the people who voted this person into office. I realize that many of us don't know what abuse looks like because we are in an abusive relationship with our government. Let me plant this seed to you right here. The way that we're living is not natural. This is not the way that we were meant to be living. This has been forced and orchestrated. Ask yourself this question. If they cut off the supply chains for food, how will you eat? That's a question that you should be thinking about. If something happens and those supply chains are limited or cut off, how will you eat? The fact that most farms are privatized should be of concern to you, but it's not, because we were born into these systems that were orchestrated and we don't even realize how dysfunctional this is, that we don't have control over. I feel so angry. I feel so angry because if you look at the way things are constructed, why do we have homeless people?
Why do we?
Why is it that people are shamed for not wanting to spend 65 plus years working 60 plus hours a week? Why are people shamed for not wanting to go into those jobs? Right? They're like, get up off your ass and work. And why is it that not only can we not build our own houses, right? If we buy a house and you pay off that house, but you don't pay your taxes, what happens to that house? So is it really your house? How did we get into the systems that we're in right now? These are the questions that I've been tasked with asking. I just want you to think, Who is going to take the house if you don't pay your taxes on it? If you get sick and cannot work, what's going to happen to you? If you are disabled, can't work, or too young or too old to work, what's going to happen to you? Right? Why is our healthcare so expensive? The healthcare subsidies are expiring, by the way. Remember the big government shutdown? Listen, I don't know how I could ever forgive the people who voted this person into office. We do not live in free societies. We are all enslaved. And we need to wake up and pay attention. I don't know how I could ever forgive the people who voted this person. All right. Keith is saying, what's wrong with just wanting to enjoy life, to live how we're intended to just enjoy the experience? I guess because different people have different ideas about how we're intended to live. It's like we're supposed to be in small communities with the elders raising the young. Young people are supposed to have children and the elders are supposed to raise them. Young people are not supposed to have children and also raise them in these nuclear families designed by these ill-sighted European white men. But they didn't respect the systems that were set in place by the indigenous, and the indigenous have a lot to teach us. They thought it would be better to enslave a woman to a man, push them into the house, produce workers for this system. And this is not how we were meant to live. We were not meant to shame sex. People are meant to make the decisions about the sex that they make and create, and the elders are supposed to raise the children. The people who have the wisdom, but we disrespect the old. And we glorify the young. You know how many people come to me and think it's an insult to call me quote unquote old? Listen, my mother died young. Look, I had a family member who married a woman and she died so young that when I saw her in the coffin, it really, like the makeup art, like the artistry that they have with these people in these morgues or funeral homes. I don't know what type of artist they pulled in, but she looked so beautiful, so peaceful. She did not look dead. Like I had to touch her hand to like it was stiff, right? But the way she looked, she was such a beautiful corpse. Lips were glossy and everything. She had on blush. Her hair was so well done, and she was laying there, hands over one another, on her back with her eyes closed in a coffin. And I was like, that really kind of messed me up, because I was like, because I saw her and I was like, wait, is she I had to like touch her hand, and it was hard. Like she wasn't pliable, like, you know, like how we are, like alive. She wasn't pliable. Like it wasn't like rigid, like her hand was like, it wasn't crispy. Like there was still there was still some human plumpness to it, but she was just real stiff. And it's like I had to touch her hand, and I was like, oh yeah, no. So it's like they want us to be beautiful corpses and let the ignorant, the young, and the brain undeveloped rule this world. We don't have respect for the elders. We don't have respect for the planet. We don't have respect for the lives of the animals that we're taking. Oh, Ebony's saying, I understand, Tonya, but let's talk about something else. You know, if you're uncomfortable with talking about death, that probably means that there's some unhealing around that needs to be spoken about. You see, this isn't how we were meant to live. We're living in Eurocentric white patriarchies that have disconnected us from the very real aspect of death. indigenous societies, people of color, black people, they came up with ways to deal with the natural process of the coming, the rising, the peaking, the going down, the the disintegration, the death, the rebirth, and the cycle. This is a natural part of life. And trust me, I had a very hard time with it as well, because when you see somebody who is about my age, you know that we have a parent who is either getting up there in age or who has already transitioned on. This is a very real part of life. So most of us in our peer group are thinking about these things right now. I have a friend whose mother had a stroke. I have a friend whose father just transitioned out. Last year, I have a friend whose father transitioned last year. And it's like, this is the time right now, and we cannot run from this. I was talking to the people behind the scenes because I have an associate, a friend of a friend, who helped me with like brainstorming ideas for when I was really in the throes of being uncertain about where I would move and how I would move. And then I just found out that he has gone on to meet his maker. So it's like, these are the conversations that we have to find a way to deal with. We cannot run from it, because the one true, certain, only two truths that will exist in this life is that we will be born and that we will die. What happens in between is this thing called life, as Case Stupendous was just talking about. Oh, and he comes back to say, sadly, death acceptance is low within certain communities. Exactly. And we've been so disconnected from our roots. You know what I encourage you to do? I encourage you to garden, because I was in mourning for my one remaining parent, even while he's still alive. And then I began to garden, and I nurtured a plant from a seed. And I watched its little stem try to stand upright. And I nurtured it when it was too weak to stand on its own. And then I watched that plant go into young adolescence and then put on flowers and let out pollen. I watched those plants. And then I watched the plants produce fruit and then reach their peak. And then I harvested the fruit. And I watched the vine try to put out fruit, but then the fruit not come to pass, and the vine become dried and old and brown. And I nurtured the plant, not understanding what was going on, until the leaves began to wilt. And I said, what's going on with my plant? Reading all types of articles and posts and websites and blogs and trying to figure out what's going on with the plant, not realizing that the plant had reached its life cycle, and then it went on to the other side. And then the next spring that I came out, and I picked up the carcass of that old plant that I nurtured from seed. Now, y'all, I nurtured from seed. And I picked up that carcass and I put it into the ground as compost to make nutrients for the generations to come. I watched that. And I recommend that anybody who is having issues with the life cycle, I recommend that you go garden, that you plant a seed and you grow that seed, and that you nurture the seed and you put a little stick up alongside it to protect it while it's young, that you cover it in mesh to stop the predators from coming. And then when it's strong enough, you allow it to be on its own. When my plants are young and I lay in my bed, I think about them outside, wondering if an animal's going to come by and chew them down while they're too young. If you think about a mighty tree, right, whose bark is strong, you don't have to worry about a goat coming by and biting down the trunk of that tree because the tree is strong enough to stand on its own. So I implore you to take a plant from seed and grow it, baby. Grow it. So that you could understand that while it's soft and tender and weak, you protect it. But at some point, you have to let it go on its own. And then you have to trust that the nurturing that you gave it has been enough for it to stand out there in the elements. So when I tell you that some people love animals, other people, that you love your pets, me, I love my plants, I do, because there is a beauty in caring for, nurturing, and growing life. There's a beauty to that. And I implore all of us out there to go and try that. I implore us. All right, listen. Oh my goodness, that took me somewhere I wasn't planning on going, but I implore you to do it. Let's and you know what the thing about it is that when I first started gardening, I wrote down all of these little passages to turn them into a book. And I don't know what happened because I never made that book, but these are the things that I learned. Like I learned a lot of wisdom in the garden. All right. Let's finish up her video and then we're going to get out of here cuz I need to work out. All right, let's go. Yes, like the video. How are we looking with likes? There's 200 people on the YouTube broadcast. We've been on for 2 hours and 15 minutes. I can't believe we've been on for so long. Let's keep going, pushing forward. Let's push. Let's push.
Those people interested in grabbing the resources of other countries have given themselves the fig leaf to take over the future. And Trump doesn't even appear to understand that. And that is the other major piece of this. But then there is the larger piece of it. If we give up the rules-based international order, we are giving up what has kept the world at relative peace and relative prosperity since the 1940s. And even those people who aren't paying attention to that don't want us to take over Venezuela. This is enormously unpopular. So when I look at today with January 6th and the attempted takeover of Venezuela and the destruction of the rules-based international order, what I see is, first of all, a president who is demented, who does not have the facilities he needs to be in that position, but also somebody who has so internalized the idea that only people like him have the answers, that he is no longer operating in reality. It is just a fact. If you have a healthy population, the country does better. So what are they doing? They're getting rid of healthcare and they're getting rid of our vaccine schedules. Not getting rid of, but significantly trimming them down. That sort of magical thinking that I'm the only one who knows how to do anything strikes me as being very much a hallmark of this moment. And it is long past time for the American people to say, we are not going to follow Grandpa down this road. And part of that, of course, is that he is 100% responsible. He's the president of the United States. But if your grandfather were driving a car and repeatedly ran over toddlers, at some point, it would be your responsibility to take those keys away. And this is where I wanted to end today. The Republican Party owns this at this point. They need to stop this from happening. And the way that that's going to happen is not for them suddenly to get touched by an angel and rethink the way that they are proceeding. The way for them to recognize that the American people don't want this is for us to speak up more and more. Talk about the Epstein files, because Trump is blatantly breaking the law on that front. Talk about the fact that things you care about have been cut, because those are things Congress voted for and the administration just decided it was going to stop. Talk about tariffs. Those tariffs are illegal, and it looks as if the Supreme Court is going to decide against him. Talk about the deployment of troops in the United States, which again looks as if the Supreme Court is not going to stand behind. And then say to your Republican representatives, you're never going to see our votes again, and we're going to...
All right, let us write down the things because we're going to have to do another Congress call-a-thon. So you can start calling Congress now, but these are the things I want us to call about PBS. Let's go back. There's also a war going on right now in Sudan. And our Congress people are allowing funds to be sent to the United Arab Emirates to slaughter people in Sudan. There's a few things that we need to call them about. So let's write this down. Hey, Koja, can you do me a favor? I'm going to run this back. Can you send me an email message after we get off of here with the things that we need to call Congress about, please? So can you send me an email? Put at the top PBS. Put down the war in Sudan and the funding that's going to the United Arab Emirates. put that as number 2, and then we're going to play this back so we know some other things. Number 3, Epstein files. So 1, PBS. 2, the war in Sudan that's being funded with our dollars going to the United Arab Emirates. And then 3, Epstein files. And then let's listen to this. Koja, can you send me that message, please? Let me know if you can send me the message. All right.
Blatantly breaking the law on that front. Talk about the fact that things you care about have been cut, because those are things.
All right, let's go back so we can hear all of the things.
But also somebody who has so internalized the idea that only people like him have the answers, that he is no longer operating in reality. It is just a fact. If you have a healthy population, the country does better. So what are they doing? They're getting rid of healthcare, and they're getting rid of our vaccines.
Okay, number 4 on the list, healthcare and vaccines. Okay.
Schedules, not getting rid of, but significantly trimming them down. That sort of magical thinking that I'm the only one who knows how to do anything strikes me as being very much a hall.
Let's talk about Trump's mental capacity. Let that be number 5. Yes. Impeachment. Yes. So 25th Amendment and impeachment, are those the same things or are they different? I think they're different. I think 25th Amendment is when we work to get him out of office. So let's do number 6, 25th Amendment, number 7, impeachment. Okay.
Hallmark of this moment, and it is long past time for the American people to say, we are not going to follow Grandpa down this road. And part of that, of course, is that he is 100% responsible. He's the president of the United States. But if your grandfather were driving a car and repeatedly ran over toddlers, at some point, it would be your responsibility to take those keys away. And this is where I wanted to end today. The Republican Party owns this at this point. They need to stop this from happening. And the way that that's going to happen is not for them suddenly to get touched by an angel and rethink the way that they are proceeding. The way for them to recognize that the American people don't want this is for us to speak up more and more. Talk about the Epstein files, because Trump is blatantly breaking the law on that front. Talk about the fact that things you care about have been cut, because those are things Congress voted for and the administration just decided it was going to stop. Talk about tariffs. Those tariffs are illegal.
Okay, number 8 on the list, tariffs.
And it looks as if the Supreme Court is going to decide against him. Talk about the deployment of troops in the United States, which again,
number 9, the deployment of troops in the United States, including ICE. So that's number 9 on the list.
Looks as if the Supreme Court is not going to stand behind. And then say to your Republican representatives, you're never going to see our votes again, and we're going to make sure that our neighbors don't vote for you either, because it's going to take a huge push among everybody in the United States, the same way we pushed during the American Revolution, to say, you are leading us to destruction and you must stop. So a lot of people are frustrated with the Democrats. Yeah, they should speak up more than they are. But there are times when the political parties, because of the way they're constructed, because of the way that their leaders have been chosen over time, parties have come and go, not come and go, parties change like everything else does. There are times when the American people have to be the ones to step up and make demands. And I think you could see this today, when today, I don't know if you saw George Conway, the former Republican, is running for Congress in New York as a Democrat, and he's like, I'm a new kind of Democrat, man. I'm taking Trump down, and I'm going to destroy everything he's doing because I love America. And I thought that was really interesting. The same sort of pattern that we saw in the 1850s. So Americans hate this. The numbers for Trump and for what he is doing are, as I say, historically low. But we got to bring that home to those people still supporting him, to say, listen, you might not like what the Democrats do. You might not like some of the Democratic policies, but what you are doing is you are voting to get rid of a government that has provided your Social Security, your Medicare, that has made sure that we could actually have products from around the world, that has kept us out of foreign wars. You're voting for all of those things so long as you support this Republican Party. And the minute MAGA actually gets isolated, the minute MAGA becomes, you can see they're going down the Nazi rabbit hole as it is. The minute they get isolated, the Republican Party could and should return to its historic roots, which was as a center-right normal party. And so you really kind of have to think of this as getting the car back on the road from the ditch that it has been in for so long now. Thank you for being here, and we'll keep doing this, man. This is it. As I said, this is our time, and your voices matter so much, both in terms of pushing back on electeds, but also saying to your neighbors, a rules-based international order is what's kept Americans from facing another world war. And actually, we're about to run the history of the Battle of the Bulge. We don't want to do that again.
All right. I really wish I could make videos like this and like other educators make, really sitting down and educating people. I don't feel like my level of knowledge is vast enough or deep enough for me to be able to sit down and make videos like that, but I really wish that I could. I am working on increasing my knowledge base. This semester I'm really diving in real deep to educating myself. And so yeah, so people are saying Vance is going to be worse. Um that we need to discuss that. So one of the things that I see that's worse about Vance is that he's younger and that he seems more mentally capable than Trump. However, I don't know. I don't know who would be better or worse, honestly. We need to get a lot of these people out of power, but the thing is that it's not really the people in power, it's all of the people that are supporting this. And somebody said they saw a CNN poll that said Trump 85% support. I need to see that poll. I don't believe that. Let me look this up. Let's see. All right. CNN poll Trump. Let's see what it says. CNN poll tracking President Trump's approval ratings. Oh, I have not clicked this thing on CNN because I don't know what they're trying to get me to agree to. How can I find this? You know what? If I go to Gemini, they'll probably give me. Okay, let's see. Give me give me CNN's approval, or let's see, CNN polls on Trump. Let's see. So, so you're saying, let's see. It's taking a while. So, are you saying, okay, so you're saying the poll is of Republicans. Okay, so, okay. So maybe not the vast population. Let's see. Um, let's see. All right, let's see. Poll of Republicans on Trump. Let's see what we have here. Of course, Vance would continue Trump's plans, but Vance is not as quote unquote charismatic as Trump is. He's trying and he seems to be able to get people to listen to him, but he gives you the ick, doesn't he? There's something about Vance that just has the ick factor in it. Oh my goodness. Look at what this thing says. It says here, it says Gallup, December 1st through 15, 2025, 89% approval among Republicans. This is being reported by The Guardian. Oh no, Gallup News. This represents a recovery from November 2025 when Republican approval slipped to 84%. What? I've heard that his approval rating is at 46%, But that must be among the general population. So that must be averaging out Democrats and Republicans because let me click on this article and see. It says Trump's second term job approval ratings trend is down here at 47%. By December, it was 36%. Let's see if I can just get this to be just a little bit bigger. All right, there we go. All right. Let's see what else we have on here. Job approval ratings is low. So where's that 89% coming from? Do you approve or disapprove of the way Donald Trump is handling his job as president? So these numbers are low. I'm seeing 59% in December 2025, 48% disapprove by January 20. Hold on. Oh, this is January 2025 to December, so it's going up. What? Where is the 89%? Oh, look. Donald Trump's second term jobs approval rating by party identification. Republicans are 89%, Democrats are 25% as of December 2025. When they say jobs approval, they're talking about the job that Trump is doing. Do you approve or disapprove of the way Donald Trump is handling his job as president? So they like the way he's handling his job as president. And in his first term, it was 82%. January, by January, it was 82% in 2021. Oh my gosh. Which was down from 2020 December at 87%. So December of 2021 and December 2025, he was at 89% 2025, 87% December. And in November, it was 90%. In October, it was 95%. So this is term one, this is term two. Term two started at 47% and is now at 36%. Term one started at 45% and went to 34%. I'm gobsmacked, y'all. Let me check my Cash Apps and see if there's anything there. I honestly don't know what to say. I feel dizzy thinking about the fact that people are liking what's going on. This is what I'm saying. These people, I saw one black person in the comments saying they're going to ride this till the wheels fall off. And I'm like, Oh, okay. So there are some apples that have come in. Jay Ebony on Wednesday sent $5 and said, "Great live stream tonight." K Stupendous sends $1 and says, "For being you, thank you." And that was sent on Thursday. Oh, I didn't catch that till today. Thank you, Kay. And then Bisen Cause Nouveau. Nouveau? Oh, I wonder if this person is French. Bisen Cause Nueve. Bisen, you have to tell me how to pronounce your name. Sends $25 and says, "Thank you for your hard work." And this was sent on Friday. So, oh wow, I missed all of these. Thank you, Kay. I appreciate the love because I know that money is very difficult to come by nowadays for some people. So I appreciate that. That really, really means a lot. All right, y'all. I need to lay down and just kind of wrap my head around what we've heard today. Listen, congratulate yourself for getting up during this broadcast and doing, we did about approximately 6 minutes of stretching during this broadcast. So you can add that to your goal allotment of exercise for the day, or at least stretching, and then you can continue to do your exercise. All right, let me see what your self-love lesson is from today's broadcast. I don't know if I can find a self love lesson for myself. However, there's a self love lesson in everything. So the challenge now is on a topic like today's topic, what is the self love lesson that we can glean from this? Scott is saying, "I definitely voted for Trump. However, you are giving me a new perspective." Are you on this broadcast that we're on? Or are you commenting on a prior poll? I don't know what is it about this video that is giving you a new perspective about Trump? I need to hear this because I'm like, what are we talking about in this video that has not been discussed elsewhere ad nauseum? I find myself slumping when I'm on these broadcasts, and when I look back at my videos, my posture is really bad. So I'm working on keeping my posture upright. But yeah, I really want to hear from this person because I don't know if you're trolling or if you're being very serious. Because I want to hear, what is it about this video in particular that is giving you a new perspective that you have not gotten from all of the resources that we've had over the past 10 years that we've been dealing with Trump. All right. Let me think of my self love lesson from today. My self love lesson from today's broadcast is thinking about my quality of life, what I want my life to look like, and prioritizing my peace above all. Peace above relationship, peace above country, peace above politics and policy. Because, like I said this morning, was the very first time that I seriously started looking for where it is that I can move to. Because, listen, statistically, I'm nearing the middle of my life, which I'm not 20 years old anymore. I'm nearing the middle of my life. And I have to think about what I want the second half of my life to look like. And and do I want to spend the second half of my life fighting for a country that was born and incepted on racist principles and ideologies by racists who left England so that they could be able to practice racism and slavery ownership freely in this country? All right, the self-love lessons are coming in. Kinsley's mommy says, "SLL, I will continue to educate myself to be better for the resistance." I hear you. I hear you. I hear you. I hear you. My self-love lesson is honestly realizing sunk cost fallacy. So there's this thing called sunk cost fallacy where you put in a certain amount of money. When I was in my 20s, I used to practice this sunk cost fallacy while dating men. I would get them to invest a lot of money up front so that they were more apprehensive to try to ghost or bounce. So I would have them invest a lot of money, a lot of time up front so that there was no easy sliding out the back door. You've already given so much that now you have an incentive to stay. And I feel like there's so many of us who have given so much to this country that we're like, okay, well, I've given so much, so I have to continue to give because I have given. That's sunk cost fallacy where we are continuing to pay into a piggy that has a hole at the bottom and somebody else is collecting the money. Scott is saying, I don't know the white lady. However, it sounds like something he was doing in the show Apprentice with Kwame Amaros and the white guy Bill, who actually won, and he gave him a job. You feel you spend so much time, money, energy, other resources that you just can't break away. SOL is taking care of my body and mind despite the chaos around me. I'll leave if I have to. Okay. I'm not even sure Trump in office where would be safe to go. I meant to say I don't know who the lady in the video you played earlier. Well, I put her name in the thing so you can see who she is. Give so much, but where is our ROI? USA is failing due to internal dynamics and geopolitical events, not racism and sexism. I you see, I feel that you lack the information to be able to make a really educated statement. The US is failing because the Constitution was written in such a way to exclude certain people from equality. The US is failing because it has continued to promote the subjugation of people of color and women as the basis for its economic principles. The exploitation of people of color and women are the backbone of how this country survives and the world at large. Women give $11 trillion, it was estimated $11 trillion of unpaid labor for these economies to be able to survive off the backs of women. The United States is a racist economy that makes its money off of these industrial complexes that are built off of racism. The prison industrial complex, the health industrial complex, the pharmaceutical industrial complex, like all of these systems are in place. Slavery is legal to this day in America. Slavery is still legal under the 13th Amendment. Or is it the 14th Amendment? It's one of those, either 13th or it's legal as long as the person is incarcerated. So what has America done? They've done mass policing. America is failing because we are so against social safety networks because people don't want Black people to be able to have these things. Black people and people of color, they don't want Black people to have health care. They don't want Black people to be able to get food assistance. If this were a country filled with white people, they would have passed social safety nets, but they are using Black people as a scapegoat. So I don't understand. It's like there are people out there who just aren't educating themselves about what thank you, 13th, the truth and reality. So 14th is birthright citizenship. 13th is the outlawing of slavery, except so what they did in this country was they outlawed slavery and just made it legal to be able to enslave people through incarceration. So what did they do? They started rounding up black people en masse. They had anti-loitering and anti-vagrancy laws so that when black people were let out of enslavement, they had nowhere to go. And because they had nowhere to go, they were now considered breaking the law by quote unquote loitering or being vagrants. So they rounded them up and put them in prison. You see, part of the reason why I'm making these videos, cursing these people out, is because they don't take the time to educate themselves. And I don't want to spend every day cursing these people out. I want to be able to have good days. So what I will do is I will play my old video, not my old video, my new video that I have on my other channel because I don't want to curse this morning. So remember when Jay-Z sang that song and he said, I can't see it coming down my eyes, so I'm gonna let the song cry. I don't want it to come out my throat, so I'm going to allow the former Tonya of a few days ago to curse this person out. That's what I'm going to do because I don't want to have to keep doing this every day. So I'm just going to let my former self, this is a new video I put up yesterday. You can go see it on the new channel. And I was feeling bad about how I was cursing these people out on my other channel. But now that this new comment has come in telling me, a black woman, college educated, and currently getting my master's, that no, all of you people don't understand what's going on in this country. Me, in my blind whiteness, I understand and know what's going on when you have no basis for that because you have not educated yourself. And not only that, the chronic mis and undereducation of white America is becoming vast and stark, and you all are not doing anything about it. But you know what? I can't see it coming down my eyes, so I'm gonna let the song cry. Here we go. Here we go. Let's get this up here and let's get it cracking. Spreading your cheeks for the oppressor. You got no black friends. You got no black people in your life. You don't know no black people, and you just sound fucking dumb. Let me tell you something. I'm just gonna let it out. I'm not gonna hold my tongue. I'm not gonna hold my tongue. You stupid, subpar, recessive-ass genes motherfuckers have had free reign for so fucking long. You don't know what real competition is like, motherfucker. You all are weak, soft, pathetic, and backwards. You just wait. This is part of the reason. Like, if black people were so inferior, you wouldn't have to try to hold them down, dummy. You would be like, oh, since you think we chimps and monkeys, right, motherfucker? Give the chimps and monkeys a chance then, since you think that of us, and see what happens. You get smoked because you see, in your softness, you've become weak, that you don't know how to compete. You're so used to having things handed to you that you don't know what competition is like. This is why you're fucking crumbling. All you have to hold on to is your recessive ass whiteness, and there's no value in that. You can't even stand up to the sun, motherfucker, let alone son, motherfucker. So just stop. Just stop. Sit back. Close your mouth. Well, you're blocked now, so you don't have anything that you can say. This is ridiculous. You're just dumb. You're weak. This is why you all are popping all of these damn pills just to survive. This is why you all are in yourself at record numbers. We pulled the data on one of my shows. White men are not doing well in this country because mentally you don't have the grit, because you're so used to giving everybody else shit while you were able to get by with mediocrity. Now all the production jobs have gone overseas, and what do you have besides your whiteness, clinging to it, rocking yourself away down in the fetal position on the motherfucking floor, rather than getting up and doing some goddamn thing, rather than taking the time to write out that whole stupid ass damn paragraph that you sent to me. You need to be taking your ass somewhere, and all them guns that you all bought, you all need to be understanding that we're in the midst of a motherfucking revolution right now, and you're so goddamn stupid that you're turning around spreading your cheeks and clapping them open for the fucking oppressor that's sitting there waiting for your ass next, you damn dummy. Don't you know that most of the people in Europe were not even fucking considered white? Come on, you dumb ass motherfuckers. You all are too stupid. Turning around, spreading your cheeks for the fucking oppressor. You got no black friends.
All right.
You got no... Please, give me a thumbs up for my... for the interpretive dance stylings of Tonya TKO. Please, 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 please. Make sure that you have liked the video. Make sure that if you want to find my videos again, that you are subscribed, because ever since I said I've begun to lose respect for white people, people have been unsubscribing from my channel, or the system has been unsubscribing people. So just make sure that you're still subscribed, because talking about certain controversial topics on my channel has had an effect on my channel. So just make sure that you are still subscribed. Here, let me play this for you all. The revolution will not be televised, and talking about certain controversial topics in America has had an effect on my channel. So thank you to all the new people who have subscribed. And for the people who thought you were subscribed, take a look around and make sure that you're still subscribed. And if this is your first time coming across me, subscribe now so that you can be sure that you'll find me again. All right, make sure that you're subscribed. Make sure that you thumbs up the video, not just a thumb up in the comments, but go to... Wait. What is Ebony saying? Tonya hit this L, small thing to a G. We can overcome this. We just having fun with it. I could be a local joker. Never has one hit the voice. All right, listen, I finally signed up for the tech squad after contemplating for years. I know. You just now signing up for the, okay, I'm not gonna give you no crap. Okay, I'm glad you signed up. Thank you. Let's play another video from the shorts that I have on the other channel. Let's see here, which one? Our lives have lost a lot of respect for white America today. They don't care, and they never have cared. And I want to know, what have these people been doing for all of these years when black people have been out there on the front line trying to make change? Like, they don't care and don't give a damn about an equitable, free country for all. All they cared about was their own comfort, so that they could sit up on the damn porch drinking mint juleps while you out there toiling. Joy DeGruy said that the way that they worked the African, that their bodies would only last for 7 years.
Muscle actually detached itself from the bone as a result of exertion and not injury.
And that in the grave, when they dug up the bodies, because you know they turned so many burial grounds into prime property and real estate, when they dug the bodies and the archaeologists, when they looked at the bodies, the muscles were torn from the bones, the cartilage disjointed. They worked so hard that their limbs came undone. And you were all right with that as long as you could have on your big damn pretty frock, going to your cotillions and drinking mint julep on the backs of black people. And even to this motherfucking day, you will talk about how we don't deserve reparations and we built this country. We built this bitch. And it is all right for you to have the upper hand and the upper leg as long as there's somebody underneath you for you to throw your fucking heels up onto. Nah, I've lost a lot of respect for white America today.
Yeah, they're going crazy over these videos on Facebook. Let me see what else I have.
I don't know how I could ever forgive the people who voted this person into office.
I don't know how I could
I've
ever.
lost a lot of respect
Let's
for
see
white
what we have
America
for black.
today. They don't care, and they never have. Our lives did not fucking matter. So that when we made an organization that said Black Lives Matter, motherfuckers came out and said all lives matter. Bitch, what? Black lives have not mattered in this country. When we told people to stay woke, look what these motherfuckers did. They turned Black Lives Matter into a quote unquote hate group. They turned stay woke into a fucking slur. The radical woke, anti-woke, this, that, and the other foolishness. Well, listen, I'm not allowing you all to co-opt the phrase, and I'm telling people still stay woke.
That's right.
Because the opposite of that is to stay asleep. And I realize that white people have been asleep for a very motherfucking long time. And I feel that white people, honestly, in terms of justice, cannot be trusted. Our lives did not
All
fucking
right.
matter.
So when people are telling me that I'm angry, somebody said on my Facebook page that I need to delete these videos because it's going to be a bad look in the future. And listen, I do worry about that because I am trying to get into a PhD program. I do worry about whether or not these messages can be misconstrued, but I'm listening to the message and I'm like, where is the lie? I don't feel that I'm being mean-spirited. Do you all feel that I'm being mean-spirited in these videos? Am I being hateful in these videos? Am I expressing hatred for anybody? Or am I expressing disgust for what it is that is happening that is unjust? I want to know, am I being mean, in your opinion, am I being mean-spirited? I want an honest poll on this because I know that I'm hurt. I know that I feel hurt. I feel very hurt by what's going on, and I know that I'm going through the stages of grief for our fallen country. And the stage that I'm in right now is volleying between anger and denial, right? So if you feel that my anger and rage in these videos is still tempered and still has a modicum of respect in there, that my points are cogent and salient, I want you to put up a 5 or the hand in the air emoji, 5 fingers or the number 5. If you feel that my words are hateful, that I am a bigot and a racist because I'm speaking these words, put up a 6. I want to see where you all feel about this because I'm like, I don't feel that I'm wrong, but I want to hear from you all. I want to hear from you all to see, have I gone over the deep end? Have I been radicalized into hatred? Because I don't hate these people, or at least I don't feel that I am even expressing hatred. I feel that I am expressing frustration and indignation. Let me see where the polls are coming in. So Miss Jonesy has a 5. So 5 is, it is righteous indignation that still has respect in it, that it's righteous anger. Number 6 is I'm a bigot, a hate monger with unfounded points, right? So I'm seeing 5s coming in. Baby is saying, it's really silly that you speak with passion and they say angry and they scream angrily and think it's acceptable. Okay. All right. So I see some hands going in the air. Okay. All right. All right. So Nine is saying people are looking at short clips, not the full context. So are these short clips, can they be misconstrued in your opinion, Nine? All right. So I'm seeing a bunch of 5s going up. I'm not seeing any 6. They always want someone to be soft of their feelings, not thinking about how they have never considered anyone else's feelings. Forget their feelings. They need the truth to be told to them. You're just being honest and disgusted. 555. 5, a lot of people don't really listen to understand. Okay, because I'm like, because I don't know if I'm being like a Nick Fuentes who is coming out talking about people are inferior. But you know what? I did talk about somebody's genes being recessive. All right, so I see some hands going up. Baby, even though some of the name calling is warranted, it still needs to be tempered. Okay, so there's one person that feels that it's not tempered. Okay, all right. So so one person feels it's not tempered. Other people are having 5. Your feelings are all valid. Okay, I think anyone can misconstrue anything they want to. Okay, all right, all right, all right. They calmly talk and work against Black people daily while they're Nazis yelling kill. Okay. So that's the thing, right? They slapping you and then get upset when you start swatting their hand away. Absolutely. I've lost a lot of respect for white America today. I don't know how I could ever forgive the people who voted this person into office. I realize that many of us don't know what abuse looks like because we are in an abusive relationship with our government. Let me plant this seed to you right here. So those clips are on the Shorts channel. You can go ahead and watch them over there. I'm going to be putting up some more clips. The video, however, is from my main page, which is this page that you're on. Let me see. If I go to my channel, you will see that if you go to the area where it says, so I'm going to show you how to get there, right? If you go to the area that says live, because most of my videos are live, like if you click on the tab that says videos, you're going to see older videos that are already edited. So when you go to videos, that's where the edited videos are. My last edited video, I'm talking about the passport bros, I'm talking about the arrests that have been made there. But if you go to live, and I see that I should probably edit this video and then upload it up onto, you know what, that's what I should do. Edit the video and then upload it. But the thing is that the people who watch the live then get confused when I re-upload it. But I see I need to upload it so that it can be in the video section. But this is where the video is right here. I've lost a tremendous amount of respect for white people. That's the video right there. Differently. Right? They laughed in our face. They gaslit us. They ignored it. They changed the channel. They let they let the narrative be changed up. Somebody said Tamir Rice, he was 12 years old. Trayvon Martin, another one. When these unarmed, innocent black people were out there being harmed, they sat by idly and said, don't protest too loud. Don't cause a ruckus. You got to protest in this way. You're a rioter. You're a thug. Look, you're looting. Look, you're doing this. You're bad. If you just did it the right way, protest the right way. Do things the way they said. You shouldn't have resisted. Well, he was running through the neighborhood. He had on khaki pants and he didn't have on running shoes. Well, he stopped in and looked at a house that was under construction. Maybe he was stealing stuff. Oh, he smoked a little bit of weed back in his day. Oh, he had done this. Oh, he once ran out of high school one day when he said his mom was sick and he didn't come back to fill the rest of the day. Oh, he this. Oh, he that. Oh, he must have had his TV up loud. Why wasn't he paying attention? Oh, why did she look out the window? Why was she sassing him? She should have just put out her cigarette. Well, the toy gun with the little orange tip in the front, how was the police supposed to know? All of these things. Meanwhile, when it's a white woman, like I was praying that it was not an immigrant because I knew that it would just be swept under the rug because ICE had killed a black man. I think it was New Year's Day. So that's the video right there. It's a 47-minute video. You can watch that, but I'm going to edit it and put it up. I'm going to work on editing it right now, as a matter of fact, right? Ebony is saying, so I never had the respect to lose. I knew they ain't ish. Lord have mercy, y'all. That is a nice white shirt. It is. It is. Anyway, listen, let me get off of here. I'll talk to you all later. Put up your self-love lessons. Some of you already have. We should have gotten off this video a long time ago.